Salute. That's not the
No,
Vulcan salute. This is the Vulcan
this,
salute.
yeah,
I asked this. I asked this dude here to give the Vulcan salute, and he doesn't know what the Vulcan salute is. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I should thank you for reintroducing me to Star Trek because it was a beautiful experience and I enjoyed every minute of it. So,
Awesome. Yes. So, those of you that don't know what we're talking about, this is a live broadcast that we're doing, and we are ranking all of the Star Trek movies. All right. Let's not do that. All right. This is better. That's what happens when you watch on YouTube. You get to hear yourself over yourself. So, yeah, guys, this is a live ranking of Star Trek. I'm pretty sure that we are on both the my YouTube page, but also on the. Oh no, we are not. Okay.
we're not on anything.
Mm, no, we are actually. All right. Aha. All right, let's end this broadcast and start over. No, we're not going to start over. Sorry, guys. This is my first time using StreamYard. Apparently, I thought I was streaming in two different platforms, but I'm actually only streaming on one, which is YouTube. So you have to get the paid version to stream on two different platforms, which I
Ah,
might do because I really like StreamYard. Depends on how much it is. Depends on um, how much money we can make off of this, which
right,
is like
right.
zero at the moment. So, hey guys, we are live streaming some Star Trek talk. Feel free to join us. We will be on for a while.
Yeah,
Yes.
14 movies, 13. 13 movies.
13 movies.
13 movies is a lot to
So
talk about.
sorry for the hiccup at the beginning. I thought that I was going to live stream into Talking Films, which, by the way, this is our parents' company, I guess you could
I
say.
guess, yeah.
Yes. So I've always liked talking about movies, but Talking Films is a Facebook page started by Justin Bramlett, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Forgive me if I pronounced it wrong. And we talk about movies, TV shows, a little bit of everything. And so we're trying to kind of build a connection between stuff that I already kind of like to do and what he's doing, and hopefully get more people involved in the site. So,
Exactly.
so it's kind of a mix of that. So today we're just gonna go down all of the Star Trek movies, starting from the motion picture, which came out, I believe, in 1979.
40 years ago today, actually.
40 years ago today. Yeah, I totally forgotten about that. It is an opportune live broadcast
Yeah.
because we are kind of commemorating that. But it's also a sad one because I just found out a couple hours ago that Odo died.
Renee Auberjonois.
There you go. You're better than me. Now, is he Canadian?
Um, I have no idea.
Where is he from? But Rene has passed. He's got a French name, but I'm not exactly sure where he's from. But I always had this feeling that he was Canadian. He is also famous for doing some musical theater and Disney movies. I was watching A Little Mermaid for the first time last year. No, for the first time. For the first time in a long time last year. And then I saw his name in the title card. And it was kind of funny. He played the chef in The Little Mermaid, and he's been in a
Oh,
bunch of
really?
other animated movies. The Little Mermaid, Little Nemo, Cats Don't Dance. I don't know any of these other ones. But the Smurfs, he was in the Smurfs, various roles.
God, that was on TV yesterday.
Snorks, Jumanji, I guess some TV show, Jumanji, Ben
No,
10.
Jumanji was the Robin Williams
Yeah, but
movie.
they made a show out of it.
No, really?
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, they made a show out of it. But then he was definitely in Deep Space Nine. So, but he lived a nice long life. He died of lung cancer, so all us smokers can.
Yeah.
Well, 79 is not bad for a smoker. Come on.
79 is pretty good, man.
Yes.
If you smoke and live to 79, you're doing great.
Yeah, man. So yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So Star Trek. I'm a big Trekkie. I watched Star Trek since I was about, I don't know, I can't remember. That's how far back it goes. Maybe when I was 8 or 9. I know my mom was a fan. Well, a yes and no fan. She thought that William Shatner was hot, you know. So this was like my in to let me watch it because she didn't like all the alien stuff. She thought it was boring. She thought it was kind of nasty. And if you watch the original series, I don't know how long it's been since you've watched the actual original series episodes.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I've been rewatching them, and they have a almost like a horror feel to a lot of them, even with the music.
The Salt Vampire.
Yes.
The Salt Vampire episode is one of my favorites.
Yeah, and there's one where they're like inside this little castle with skeletons and like there's a lot going on, and with the music, with the so I don't think my mom liked it for a lot of those reasons, and so my in was that she thought William Shatner was like so gallant and everything. So I've been watching it since I was little, into the movies, a big fan of the original cast, but this guy. I don't know if he's as much of a Trekkie as I am, so I kind of had to drag him into watching all 13 of these movies. What's your Trek history?
My dad was, well, first of all, like I'm a bit older than you, so I grew up in an era where the only Star Trek was the original series. That was it. That was the only Star Trek. And my dad was a fan, and I watched it with him, and I thought it was cool. And then the movies came out, and I was really excited. And not to spoil the podcast or anything, but when the first one came out, I was like, "Oh my god, that was so fucking disappointing." As it turns out, future movies were better, future series were better, and I got a bit more into it. I never really became a big fan. My nerd energies tend to get focused towards Star Wars more than towards Star Trek. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate Star Trek. I think Star Trek has its own thing going, and yeah, it's got like this utopian vision of the future, and I like it for what it is.
I'm kind of the opposite then, because I really enjoy Star Wars. Speaking of which, we're doing a Star Wars ranking as soon as we finish this live. I mean, I'm probably going to watch the first movie. I don't know if I can do it tonight because I have an early class tomorrow.
Yeah.
But probably on Monday because I have like the whole day free. I have one of those days where I work in the morning and then I have like the whole day free, and then I work at night. So I'll probably
we have like 3 months free coming up.
Yeah, but we want to get it. I want to get it done before the new one comes out.
Yes, that's
so
true.
We can watch the new one and do like a whole big old happy ranking of Star Wars.
Yes.
So that's why I want to get
started. That's why
on.
we should do it on Christmas Day, man. I'll buy like fucking dinner and everything.
Oh, nice.
I'll buy like rotisserie chicken and shit.
Oh, that sounds tasty. I like rotisserie chicken. So yeah, but I'm kind of the opposite. I probably got into Star Trek first. Actually, I got into Doctor Who first. If you really, really want to dig down, what my favorite fandom is Doctor Who. I went to a Star Trek convention when I was 14, and I came home with a Doctor Who T-shirt. So I'm a little bit of a traitor to Star Trek in that way. But then Star Trek, and then I think when I was maybe 13, maybe 14, I watched Star Wars, but only clips, because we didn't have all these wonderful technology that you have today where you can just watch something on demand. Right. So it was whenever like I caught parts of Star Wars on TBS or whatever the cable company was at the time, Turner Broadcasting. So it was one of those movies that I knew, but everything was kind of like jumbled up, you know.
Right.
And I think I only really watched Star Wars for the first time is when they re-released it in the theaters when I was maybe 17 or something. It was like the 20th anniversary or something.
The only one I saw on the re-release was Empire, actually, and I enjoyed that.
Oh, it was cool to see it on the big screen. Yeah,
yeah.
it was before even the prequels had come out. I think it was maybe like a lead up to it. So I went with my buddy Dan, and we sat right in the front row, and I watched The New Hope. And you know what? I don't know if I watched the other ones. I'm sure they released all three, but
they did.
Yeah, I don't have a memory of going back to watch Empire or Return of the Jedi. But now I'd probably seen them all at least 3 or 4 times each.
I swear to God, I've seen New Hope at least 100 times. At least.
That's kind of how I am with some of these Star Trek movies. I've lost count, especially with my top ones of how many times I've seen it. Because you know what it is with Star Trek, and I'm in a lot of Trek groups online. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way about Star Wars, and I kind of do also with Star Wars. It's like a comfort blanket, you know, because you know what's gonna happen. You kind of know. There's not that much subversion, although X, the Last Jedi. There's not a lot of subversion. You know the universe. You know what the characters are supposed to do. You know the character types you're gonna get, and you can still have a great story on top of that, and you can still have like, wow, that was pretty awesome, and some twists and turns.
But what I've found watching The Mandalorian is that. Live action really makes a difference because they had all these Star Wars cartoons like Star Wars Rebels, Clone Wars. I tried watching them and they were not bad. They were not bad at all, but I just couldn't get into them. The live action makes all the difference. Like The Mandalorian, it's a spaghetti western, and
I gotta watch that still.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Yeah, but I get it. It's total comfort because I'm like that. Like if I'm feeling a little down, a little like overwhelmed, I pop in more the shows than the movies. Although the movies can kind of get into this territory too, but the shows you kind of know what you're getting. You put it in, boom, it's comforting. It's doesn't shake the boat too much, but it's well written. If you get and it's almost I imagine like Law and Order. It's like these series that just kind of
like there's a formula. The trash, like fuck, give me some 90210 any day, man.
Yeah, there's a definite formula to it.
Yeah,
so
it's comforting.
It's very comforting. So let's get to it, and we're gonna start our countdown. Okay, so I'm gonna let Pete go first, and we'll go from there.
All right.
What's your first movie?
You mean first as in last?
Last, yes. We're going worst to best here.
Last would be the motion picture.
The motion picture.
Yes, and this, to be honest, as I said earlier in the prelude, I was a big fan of the show. Watching it with my dad, like it was only 3 seasons. Like that was it. When I was 7 years old, that was all we had, man. That was all the Star Trek we had was like the 3 seasons of the original series. And so when the movie came out, it was hugely exciting. I was so excited, and I fell asleep. It is. I want to say it's the first time I fell asleep in a movie, but actually, when Phil asked me to do this podcast, I decided to rewatch it again because, I was only 7 when I saw it the first time. So maybe it had gotten better. And then I woke up at like midnight with a message on my computer from Phil saying, "Motherfucker, where are you?" Because I think we were supposed to do we were supposed to do the Rambo podcast.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It was that night?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like, "Motherfucker, where are you?" I was like, dude, I fell asleep watching Star Trek.
Wait,
I'm
wait,
so
time out, because you got to get the full story of this. The reason why I was worried is because Pete's a motherfucking wild man to the point where he's come to my house, rung the wrong a bell on the wrong
I did
door,
almost get shot.
almost got shot by the police, and he's been beaten up and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my god. He said he was gonna be here at 9, and he's not here. That night, I was so worried. I got it. I left my house. I got on a bus all the way to his house, looking for a body strewn down the right side of the highway. I couldn't remember which house was his, so I walked like kind of what I thought was the street, and I went back, took a bus back to my house, looking again, seeing if there's any bodies strewn in the forest anywhere. And then, like 3 hours after that, I get a message. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, sorry. I'm like, fuck you,
Yeah,
man. That
yeah.
was
I
funny.
fell asleep watching Star Trek because of Phil. Phil made me watch Star Trek, and ah, like the thing is, like it's the only movie I've fallen asleep in, and I've fallen asleep in it twice now.
Oh boy.
Like there, that scene of them watching the Enterprise for 15 minutes, that
Mhm.
alone will put you out.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's directed by Robert Wise, the director of West Side Story. And it's written by Alan Dean Foster, who is one of the great science fiction writers of all time. And it's based on what at that time was the greatest science fiction show of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it should not fail, and yet somehow it totally fucking sucked.
Check this out. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Keep talking.
No, that's it. It totally sucked. What more can I say?
Yeah.
It put me to sleep. It bored me to death.
I'll tell you, it's not that far down. Here we can share a little bit uh of this right here. This 6-minute scene. I hope I don't get hit by any
Of them
copyright
looking
stuff.
at
Yes.
the Enterprise, yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't get hit with copyright if I turn the volume down. But yes, the movie begins with this. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to just jump on the motion picture bandwagon only because it's my number 12 pick, so it's not that
All right.
far from you.
Yeah.
And I say this as a Star Trek fan. Yes, this movie is long and boring.
It's not actually that long.
It is. It's like 2 hours, isn't it?
It's 2 hours. 2 hours
Well,
is
yeah,
not that long.
yeah, it's like an average movie, but I think the other ones are a little shorter. They're like an hour and a half, an hour 40. But the thing with this movie, I mean, look at the color. I mean, it's bland, it's brown, it just has zero life. And I was
that's a perfect way of putting it. There's no life.
yeah, and you imagine, and I was listening to these guys, this other podcast about this movie just yesterday, and they made a really great point. Imagine this is 10 years after the series is off the air, more or less.
Yeah.
And you have this great letter writing campaign and going to the conventions and bring Star Trek back, and finally you have Star Trek back.
And you get this.
And you get this, like it's a very dark movie. Everybody hates each other. Like Kirk comes off as a complete asshole. Spock, like I know he's supposed to be going through his little the Kulamar or something like to remove all emotion, but like he comes on the ship, it's like somebody ran over his cat or something. Like he's like totally hates everybody, and it's. Yeah, just a weird movie, but you get this for as you can see.
The supporting characters are completely disconnected from the high command too.
Yes. Now there's a whole story behind why this movie was made because it was supposed to be actually a TV series. It was Star Trek, the Phase 2. You know, because Roddenberry eventually, he was getting enough fan support that the studio said, yeah, let's make a show. But then your favorite movie came out, Star Wars.
Right.
And Paramount was like, well, hey, what do we have that's similar to Star Wars that we can put on the big screen? Star Trek. And now I'll give you the positives of this movie because of that. It's probably the most beautiful of the Star Trek movies. Like the special effects, the score is gorgeous. I used to put the score on when I had no internet just to fall asleep because it's fucking gorgeous
It would
score.
be awesome on
Yeah.
acid. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's got this blend of like 2001, but it's also it tries to have this epic feel of Star Wars. But the thing is, it's well going back to Star Wars. It's a lot like the Last Jedi, where
Well,
it's just this 2 hours of them just going from point A to point B. There's not much that happens in the movie. They're just going from this space dock right here that you see, this beautiful
yeah.
ship, to the asshole of the V'ger, where the little thing
Well,
goes.
it's funny how much those movies owe to each other, though, because I mean,
Yes,
like, if not for Star Trek, Star Wars would not exist.
yes.
And yet, Star Wars was what made space cinema a big thing, and
Mhm.
that was what rejuvenated Star Trek.
Yes.
So, I mean, even though like
Nice
both
effect.
series like are completely independent of each other and
Yes.
have completely different themes, they both owe so much to each other.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, they're intertwined. That's why I enjoy both, and I'm happy that now fandom has stopped being so shitty about is it Star Wars or Star Trek. No, they're both great. It's just different looks at space. One is definitely more sci-fi. The other, I think more is adventure fantasy. But they're both, a whole lot of fun. But yeah, like this is the never ending. See,
Well, Star Trek is more reality based. Star Trek
yes,
is more about like a utopian vision of the future, whereas Star Wars is a long time ago in a galaxy far,
yeah,
far
it's
away.
it's like it's King Arthur in space.
Yeah.
It's very much based more on that type of stuff than sci-fi, which is fine. I love me a good lightsaber battle. But anyway, yeah. So you get this. I mean, this is the beginning of the movie. If you can get past this,
Which I couldn't. I really
yeah, because
couldn't.
I've fallen asleep. So I mean, going back, I mean, look at that. I mean, the effects are beautiful. I mean, you got the little floating guy. I mean, it's gorgeous. But I mean, I guess we're not all having the same wet dream that Kirk's having, or like the nerdgasm of seeing the ship. You know.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if you're a Trek fan, you've heard the music. Well, this is happening. It's really gorgeous. So that's a redeeming quality. And I'll tell you. So when I did a rewatch for Star Trek on my own a couple years back, and my list has totally changed, by the way, based on my original list on my blog. And I had put this one up a little higher. I put it a little bit lower this time, but it was the first movie I had to get through. And as a Star Trek fan, it took me 3 times to watch it because I fell asleep the first 2 times.
So
the,
easy to fall
the,
asleep.
the third time, what I did is I made sure I wasn't tired. Like I got like 2 p.m., like at 2 o'clock or before lunch or something, because after lunch you fall asleep. And I got myself a big ass bottle of Coke, and I sat up straight and I said, I'm gonna get through this movie because it was kind of like a black mark on my
But
trekking card.
that's not really a, I don't know. That's not really a strong endorsement.
It isn't. No, it isn't. I'm not trying to endorse this movie, but well, I'm gonna get to like a mini endorsement of it. Because what happened is after I watched it, like I actually paid attention. It's actually like it's not a bad movie. Like it's kind of like got a cute little sci-fi twist ending. Kind of Twilight Zone-ish with V'ger and Voyager.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's the thing. It's
yeah.
like it takes you 2 hours to get to the quote unquote twist.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we got you. It's like, well, thanks, but I've lost interest by this point.
Yeah,
so
that's the
fuck
thing.
you.
That's the thing. It's like you have to get through a whole lot of drug-induced, like Technicolor, like when Spock goes on that little. Yeah, there's a lot of good ideas. This is Gene Roddenberry, by the way. This movie is the reason why Gene Roddenberry was slowly pushed away.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you have these geniuses, like George Lucas is another one. Like he's a great creative mind, but keep him away from the writer's desk. Like
Right.
they don't know what makes good conflict. They don't know what makes good drama, and sometimes the creation is it outgrows its creator and it becomes something
Right.
better
Yeah.
after the creator is kind of kicked to the curb. Gene Roddenberry, I feel like this about George Lucas, and the other one is Chris Carter. The X Files got to be the X
Mm.
Files when other writers, what's his name, Frank, great writer, but when he came into the show,
The one I'm thinking of is the guy who did Vince Gilligan.
yeah, Vince too from Breaking Bad, but
Yeah.
I think it's Frank Sputnik.
Sputniks.
Yes, he's awesome. I mean, he was a
Yeah.
great. I don't
He
know.
wrote the Jesse Ventura episode, didn't he?
Did he?
I think so.
Wait, let me see here. X Files. I don't know how to spell his name, but he was a great. The show kind of just. Oh, Frank Sputnitz. Zero Sum. It's the 24th episode of the fourth season. It was directed by Kim Manners, written by Frank Sputnitz. Anyway, yeah, in the fourth season, I mean, a lot of people consider that one of the best
Mhm.
seasons of the X
Yes.
Files. It's probably one of my favorites. I really like season 4. But anyway, yeah, poor Gene. I mean, you feel bad for the guy, but I mean, down the line, I mean, Star Trek became better after the second movie,
Hmm.
and Star Trek: The Next Generation after he died.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sad to say, but when Braga and his other buddy came in, and you had the best of both worlds and the Borg and all that stuff,
Mhm.
that like when people think Star Trek: The Next Generation, they're not thinking season 1 and 2 and most of 3. They're thinking what was going on from season 4. That's like the Star Trek that the Next Generation that people really, really have in their mind. So I mean, I love Gene and what he created,
I
but
know, I know.
he
It's amazing the level of content that there is for Star Trek now, and like I said, when I think of Star Trek the motion picture, I think like that was all we got, man. Like it was weak. We had those 3 seasons of the original show and that one movie, and that was it.
that was
That
it. That
was
was it.
it.
And it was a shame that you had to deal with that. But it's a weird movie. It's a weird movie where I mean I kind of just felt as a Trekkie like, oh my god, I should really just watch this movie. But it's really a movie where if you don't watch it or you just kind of pretend it doesn't exist, it's not going to change anything about the Star Trek universe. It reminded me of something because I did with Justin. We did the Friday the 13th
Right, right,
ranking,
right, right.
and it's almost like okay, if you skip Friday the 13th, maybe 1 through 3, you're not really missing what Jason is
You're
and
not gonna
Jason.
miss the plot point. If he
Yeah,
sees you, he will kill you.
yeah, because I mean, I watched it for the very first time, the whole series, and although I knew that his mom was part of the first, I didn't know she was. That was it. Like she is the spoilers, by the way.
Right,
She is the killer. There's
right.
no Jason in Friday the 13th Part
That is
One,
true. Yes.
and then he only gets the mask in I think Part
Part
Three,
three.
and
Part three.
4 is when you finally get this is the Jason everybody knows from pop culture. So if you skip those movies, you're not really. I mean, they're fun. I actually kind of like Part 1 and Part 2, but you're not really missing out. And I think
Right.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture is kind of like that. Like if you don't watch it, it's not like you're missing out on what Star Trek the movies with the original cast became, with the red uniforms
Right.
and all the more militaristic and all that stuff. So I put it though at number 12.
Okay.
So that means that I have a number 13, which I rank really low this time, guys. Every time I watch this movie, I um I just it just goes lower and lower in my ranking. I'm trying to get the image here for this movie. And why?
Oh, you were
Yes.
looking at what? Not first
I
contact.
hope you're not taking your pants off.
No, no, no. I'm
Okay.
actually gonna grab another beer, but
Oh, all right. There's beer grabbing. Wait up.
yeah. Do
I'm
you want
gonna.
one?
I'm all for beer. Okay. While beer is being grabbed, I'm going to talk about Star Trek Generations. Star Trek Generations. And why? do I put this movie so low? Mainly for one thing, the death of Captain Kirk. I think like every time I watch it, I get more and more upset with uh with exactly. Oh, it's fine. Uh, thank you, sir. I get more and more upset with how that went down with Captain Kirk dying. Now
Oh,
the
are
best.
you bashing Generations?
I'm bashing Generations right
Good
now.
lord, man.
Check this out. I'm gonna actually share here the best part of this movie for me. And I remember this is the first one I saw in the theater because, like Pete had mentioned, I'm a little bit younger than he is. So this was my first Star Trek movie because Undiscovered Country, I think, came out in 91, 92. I was too little and I didn't
I
have
think
anybody to
91, yeah.
take me to the theater. So this was my first one. I think this was 94. And yeah, it was epic watching Deanna Troy crash the ship, you
This
know.
is the last movie where she's really hot, too.
Really, I thought she looked good in well, she looked yeah, she looked good in First Contact.
She was alright, but.
In either case, she crashed the ship, which
Yeah,
is
she
why women
did.
should never
Yeah.
drive. That became the joke. And it's funny because she's got a great sense of humor and she jokes about that herself. She's like, man, don't ever put me don't ever let me drive anything. But it's nice that they gave her a little bit something more to do. The classic Trek shaking, right?
Right.
So,
She's actually one of the most well developed of the new generation characters, I think.
really, people
Yes.
really hate her. I think in the
But
movies they gave her more to do. In the show,
that's
she's
true. That's true.
totally like she's the most useless character in
Yeah, that's
all of
true.
Star
That's true.
Trek.
In the movies, she's more well developed.
Yeah,
In the
because
series, not so
yeah,
much.
they gave her a little something more to do. They let her drive for once, and she
Yeah, and
crashes the
she
ship.
marries Stryker.
Riker.
Riker, yeah.
Yes, she marries Riker.
Because you knew they were boning the whole fucking time.
Yeah. Yeah, because she had a relationship with Worf in the show. It was kind of no, but this was epic. Watching this as however old I was in '94, maybe I was 15 or 13. I don't remember. Uh, that was fucking great. And Data saying, "Oh shit," you
Yeah.
know, and it's
Yeah, we're fucked.
yeah, we're fucked.
I mean, like we talked about this before, but how many times has the Enterprise been completely destroyed? It's been destroyed in the movies alone. It's been destroyed 3 times.
Yeah,
But
because
this is actually the best.
this is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
This just came out of left field, so it was a shock. You know,
Yeah.
when I watched this for the first time, it totally shocked me. Um, but you know, the negatives of and they don't have seatbelts on these. They really should implement some seatbelts. But anyway, inertial dampeners they call them. Oh, they didn't work right there. But anyway, so why am I ranking it so low? One, because there's better movies, but I just when I watched the other Star Trek Next Generation cast movies, I think over time they've aged a little bit better, and they kind of feel like they're really part of their own world. This movie was still trying to marry a little bit of TOS crew with
Yeah,
this one.
it was the bridge.
Yeah, it was the bridge movie. So yeah, the bridge movie in more ways than one. Because you know it starts out with Kirk and Scotty and Chekhov, and in the Enterprise B,
Right.
and then it jumps to fast forward to the future with. Although I've always wondered about the opening scene with that bottle floating through space to christen the ship. Like, how exactly
Right.
did they manage to get that bottle? Like, who threw it? Is it gonna go in a straight line if it's in space, or just kind of float off somewhere? I don't know exactly how that works. The mechanics of that. Get Neil deGrasse Tyson to explain that. And yeah, so I watched it again, and for me, it kind of bores me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think Sauron is the greatest villain. I mean, he's just kind of your average.
That's Malcolm McDowell, man.
I know he's an awesome actor. I'm just talking about the character itself,
Right.
like his motivation. He wants to
Well,
go.
his motivation is like to destroy all life. which I
No,
mean,
no, he doesn't want to
I,
destroy it. He wants to get back into the Nexus
right.
because they pulled him out. But in order to do that, he needs to kind of bend the
he needs to bend the
the
fucking
trajectory
yeah,
of the Nexus.
exactly.
But that involves destroying some planets along the way. And it seems like, okay, for somebody that's that one, oh no, they kind of explain. They have some techno babble where it's like, oh no, the ships get destroyed when they're in line with the Nexus. But in the beginning of the movie, there were like 3 ships that were caught in the Nexus that Kirk had to save. That's why he got killed. So I don't know, like for him to turn evil like that evil,
right.
just because he wants to get back into this very special place. I mean, he could have just talked to somebody and been
I
like,
suppose.
like there's this really nice place I want to get back to called the Nexus. Could you transport me there somehow? Can we find some ship that's resistant enough to get it? And then you get Picard and Kirk, which is awesome, of
That's
course.
see, this is why I rank this movie so high because
Mhm.
like I don't know, my single favorite scene in that movie is where Kirk says, "I suppose the odds are insurmountably against us,"
Yeah,
and Picard is like, "Yes, I suppose we have no chance of winning.
yeah.
Yes, let's do it." And it's like, oh my god, nerdgasm,
Yeah, no, I'm
nerdgasm.
not gonna lie. That's a definite nerdgasm scene movie. That's like that's like every Trekkie's dream is like, because that's every Trekkie's biggest debate. Who's the best captain? Is it
Yeah, of
Picard or is
course.
it Kirk? Uh, but oh, hello, one person who's watching. Thank you for coming, and please stick around. Um, I would like to be able to, you know what I can do? I can open this, oops, to watch on YouTube, view on YouTube, and mute it. Because if we don't mute it, we're going to hear ourselves over ourselves. Oh, it's muted. So then if anybody writes any comments on the side. So if anybody's watching, you are free to leave comments and yell at us if we shit on your favorite Star Trek movies. That is not a problem. Oh, we got 2 people watching. Hello, 2 people that are watching. It might be actually me watching myself, but we love views. Any views we accept. So, man, awesome. You can't deny that. That is awesome. Kirk and
Yes.
Picard.
Kirk and
But
Picard together was a fucking
they
bonus.
killed Kirk with a fucking bridge. Come on, man. I mean, Kirk, the most heroic captain of all time, gets killed.
But he was supposed to
By
be
a
dead
bridge.
already, so really, did it matter that much?
Yes, because he's not really dead already. He's alive. I mean, and oh, I don't know. There's so much that like after I watch this again, I'm like, because it's kind of a cheat. Because Picard goes back in time to when the guy's about to, fire his missile off. I mean, couldn't Picard have just kind of reimagined himself back when Kirk had just arrived and said, "Let's do this over"? Because I just fucking let the greatest captain of all time die on a fucking bridge. No, no, he didn't die on the bridge. He died under a bridge.
He died under a bridge.
Yeah,
Yes.
they have a lot of memes with that. With Kirk was like, "This is the captain on the bridge. This is the bridge on a cat." No, it just pissed me off more and more, especially if you're coming off, after binge watching, a movies 1 through 6 and falling in love with this cast all over again and be
Right.
like, "This is so fucking great," and then you have this, and I found out that there's actually a deleted scene where Kirk survives, and this pissed me off even more. Now I really hate this movie because they did shoot a version where Kirk survives. Let me see if I can find that for you guys. Wait, Kirk survives Star Trek Generations. Uh, no, this is when he's got the worst line at the end. He's like, "Oh my."
Is it like, did we win or something?
No, he
like
says,
that?
"Oh my." Come on. They're trying to give him alternate ending. Let me see. Alternate ending. Part one. Deleted scene. Alternate ending. So this guy got the alternate ending of this, and he kind of created his own version um of the of what he would have liked the ending to be, which is fine, not a problem. But look at this. So there's Kirk kind of fighting with the bridge, and then
Yeah, he kind of goes out like Wile E. Coyote.
yes. Let's fast forward. And by the way, one thing I definitely learned in this movie is Picard just can't fight. He gets his ass beat over and over and over in this movie.
No, he's not a tough guy. He's never been a tough guy.
Yeah, and he tries to be in the rest of the movies, in which a lot of Trek fans really hate him for that. Because okay, McDowell gets blown up, and then you're gonna see who's up in the shadows after the smoke clears, because he goes down there. He's gonna try to find Kirk. Where's Kirk? There's the bridge, and then this would have been such a better ending. Look, wait, he's yeah. Look, they had shot this alternate scene where Kirk is kind of escaping at the last minute, I think, or no, or did they? I think this is a mix from. All right, come on, Kirk. And who is it? It's Kirk. I made it. Yeah. It's such a Kirk moment. Yeah. But then this is just splicing stuff that from other uh there's another alternate ending scene, another version of the alternate ending. Oh no, I didn't like this one, part two. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of a shame that this movie had to go that route. Cause
I don't know. I mean, you gotta give Kirk an ending, right?
not really. You don't. I don't think you do. It's like with Spock. Spock. I mean, he died. Because the actual
Leonard Nimoy died.
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy died, but that could have gone on forever, and it's cool that it was like off screen.
Right.
Like I wouldn't mind. It's just we get somebody say at some point Captain Kirk passed away. But not so again. I think this is more my nerd fan bone speaking, and that's why I give Generations such a low grade. But it does bore me a little bit in the middle. Like I hate that scene. I remember I hated the scene even in the theater where Picard first gets into the Nexus, and there's that whole Christmas thing, and all his kids, and like Papa, Papa.
That was weird.
It's cringeworthy.
That was weird.
No, Jean-Luc Picard is not good with kids. That's established in the show. And kids in general.
You remember Wesley Crusher, right?
Oh, Wesley Crusher. And there's
he hated having that kid on the bridge.
Oh, right? Shut up, Wesley. That's a great meme. Shut up, Wesley meme. And also there's this episode, it's actually the only one that's half decent with him and kids, where they get stuck in a turbo lift. And it's like three kids that had just won the science project, and he has to go down there and kind of, just look at their creations, and they get stuck in a turbo lift, and he has to deal with these kids for a whole episode. And it's actually not a bad one. It's kind of cute. But otherwise, I just hate sappy stuff with Picard. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
No, he's a cynic.
Definitely.
He's a cynic. And that's what makes his character great.
So anyway, we are going to put Generations, for me, at number 13, because mainly Kirk's death. And that's that. What's your number 11?
My number 11.
Man, this is gonna be a long ass fucking podcast. But we're having fun, guys. By the way, we're drinking over here.
Yeah.
We recommend that you do the same. Drink, 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 drink. Please.
All right. I have to put my glasses on for this.
Uh-oh, he's old. Oh, look, somebody approved.
All right.
Our post in Star Trek.
So
thank you, Robin Brandon.
Okay, so my number 13 was motion picture. Number 12 was Part 5. Let's talk about part 5.
What is? Oh, that shit show.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
directed by William Shatner.
Directed by during. Okay, I'll. Before you go on, I'm just gonna put a little asterisk. There was a writer's strike, so we can blame all that mess for maybe that. But
Yeah,
go
because
ahead.
it was not badly directed. It was actually very well directed. Um, but the writing was bad. The
Yes.
writing was really bad.
Who wrote that, by the way? Do you know?
No, I have no idea.
Who wrote Star Trek: The Final Frontier? Writer, because this definitely feels like a Gene Roddenberry production, man. David Lowery.
Well,
I have no clue
the
who that
bizarre
is.
thing about it was like it starts with like Spock, Bones, and
Oh, William
Kirk.
Shatner wrote some of the story. William Shatner,
Yeah,
Harv
he
Bennett.
was a co-writer. He was a co-writer.
Yeah, Harv Bennett is usually pretty good, so I don't know what he was smoking for that. But
But I mean, like the first part of the movie is um, Kirk, Spock, and Bones taking a camping trip
yes,
together,
yes.
and I believe it's Montana. It's have you ever seen these characters before? Do you realize how implausible the scenario is? And oh, it goes beyond that. They sing camping songs.
Yeah.
Row, row, row your boat gently
It
down
was
the stream.
the comedic aspect of it. Well, go ahead, because
Well, okay, so that in itself is ridiculous enough. Then the story is actually about God, literally about God.
yes,
They're trying to find God, and they do find him, and that is actually the best aspect of the movie because God demands Kirk kneel before him and show respect, and Kirk is like the real God would never demand that. He wouldn't need to. And
what does God need with a starship?
exactly, exactly. So there were actually things about it I liked. I think it was badly written. It was well directed. The story was good. It just the screenplay itself was kind of sucky.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into this movie too, only because I have it at number 10. So just one
Yeah,
over you. Um, and yeah, like my whole thing with this movie is I like some of the individual scenes. Like I liked the stuff between Kirk, Spock, McCoy. Like you get those three in a room together, you can't go wrong. Like just prop them up in a room.
but why would they ever be hanging out together socially?
No, because they're great friends. That made sense. That part for me. I mean, if you go all the way back from the original series up, I mean, the only movie that I think they're weird is actually the motion picture because it seems
Right.
like they hate each other, you know? But they're like,
that's more accurate, actually.
yeah, maybe like after a while they would probably be at each other's throats, being out in space together. But the whole point of Trek, as far as the characters, is like these three are like butt buddies. They are
They're brothers. They're
yeah, they're
brothers.
brothers. You have the bromance between Kirk and Spock, obviously, but McCoy is like he's like the
He's the
counterweight.
bridge.
Yeah,
He's the bridge.
he's the and he's yeah. It's interesting because I was listening to another podcast where they put McCoy as the counter weight to Spock, where McCoy is very emotional, Spock is very logical, and Kirk kind of listens to them both and makes up his own mind.
Right.
But for me, it's always been Kirk Spock is more like the counterweight to each other, and McCoy is kind of the referee.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely can see them hanging out socially and camping. I want to know what Chekhov and Sulu are off doing by themselves, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But stuff like that is what I love about Star Trek. Um, Star Trek: The Final Frontier. It's got really big ideas. It's got actually, and I'm gonna give a big shout out to Cybok. I love Cybok. I think he was a wasted villain. He could have been way greater. But I love the concept of this Vulcan who threw away like the logic. He's like, man, that's for the
Yeah.
birds, you know, like the
He's Spock's brother, wasn't
and
he?
he's Spock's brother. So
Yeah.
you find a little bit more about Spock's background, about his dad was sleeping around, and he's got a bunch of siblings. Because in Star Trek Discovery, the black chick is his half sister.
Shit.
So yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on in Vulcan, and it just this movie is ruined, I think, by two things. One, too many cooks, like too many ideas, but nobody being able to kind of just focus it and give us like this very straight story that could have been awesome. I mean, it could have been the best of all of them.
I thought the dialogue was really bad, actually.
Yeah, that gets me to my second point, which has to do with dialogue. Is it tried to be too funny because I think they saw Star Trek 4.
Yeah, because Star Trek 4 was funny. Like
But
it was good.
But it was legitimately funny. Yeah, that's the thing. Whereas Star Trek, so they went for the same thing.
They went for the same vibe and they missed it.
And they missed it because the jokes were at the character's expense.
Right.
Like Scotty hitting his head and
Right.
like, come on! I mean, this is the greatest fucking engineer or whatever in Star Trek.
Yeah, they made him look ridiculous. One of the best things about the reboots is the casting of what's his face, Simon Pegg
as Scotty. Yeah, he's awesome.
because like he's not a fucking goof. He's a fucking genius engineer.
Yeah, and of course you have this. This is one of the reasons not to watch this movie.
Yeah. I remember feeling embarrassed for William Shatner watching this. It's like, oh, dude, man, really? Did you have to do that?
No, not William. It's Nichelle Nichols, Uhura.
No, but I mean.
Oh, the director. Oh, directing this scene. And I'm like, no, I felt embarrassed for her. Like, oh my God. I mean, she does have some nice legs. I mean, if that's really her legs. Hello, boys. Oh, with her granny voice. Hello, boys. I've always went. Oh, it's so terrible. That's the worst of the worst. So yes, there's a lot that this movie gets wrong about how to treat the characters with respect.
But it was not as bad as I thought it was the first time I saw it.
That's the thing. It's a totally watchable movie. That's why
it's enjoyable. It's still Star Trek.
Yeah, and I like the ending after they get past whatever that nebula was that they're trying to get to God. So it's not one. It's not the motion picture. It's not. Oh my God, I dread watching this movie.
It's not unwatchable.
Yes.
By any stretch of it.
No, it isn't. It's just not as good as the other ones. So I wish it could have been better because I do like some of the concepts in it, and I know one of the big concepts is this idea of God. Because
they tackle religion, which is really fucking bold, actually.
Yeah,
especially for Shatner. For Shatner to direct a movie that is about confronting God face to face.
Yes,
that's pretty bold.
No, it's got a lot of great ideas. So I wish it would have been a better one. That's one that it's a missed opportunity. It was a lost opportunity. Yes. Let me see here. Now, when I'm thinking of these movies as I rank them, I think that's something that just goes into consideration when I think about them. It's like how much I would be willing to just press play,
Right.
And how much of it I'm going to, oh, I got to sit through that damn Christmas tree scene again.
Right,
or, man, I got to sit through like a 6-minute fly around of the Enterprise. So that goes a lot into how I rank these because I kind of love them all in their own way.
Yeah, they all have their redeeming qualities.
But it just goes down to that. It's like, how pumped am I to like just press play and I can get through this movie point, from A to B, and that's that. So let's move on. So you did your 11, which happened to be my 10. So now Are
Uh,
you at 11 or are you at 10? I guess you're at. No, I guess I have to do my 11, but I'll do it after you do yours.
well, let me see here.
I believe you're at number 10 now,
Yes, I'm probably at number 10.
which is. He's putting on his specs. Is it Nemesis?
Yes, yes, number 10 is Nemesis.
Because that's my
No,
number.
no, no, no.
Oh,
It is Spock.
Spock. Is that the search for Spock by any
The
chance?
search for Spock.
Because
Yes.
Spock got lost in space. You
Yes,
see what I
yes.
did there?
I will tell you, I actually really enjoyed it. I saw this movie in the theater not once, but twice. I
Oh
liked it
gosh.
so much, I went back and saw it again. And watching it again, I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, it is actually one of the silliest movies in the series. And I don't know, for those of you who are younger, you probably remember Christopher Lloyd most as the guy from Back to the Future. But I remember him most as Reverend Jim Ignatowski from Taxi.
Yeah, that's what I know him from before Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, Reverend Jim as the evil Klingon who kills Kirk's son. That's what that movie is about for me. I mean, first of all, the premise is ridiculous. The idea that um, they have something which is
He's
never
81. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, they have something which is never explained that can apparently like generate life on a planet and also bring Spock back to life.
Yes, it's very much pseudoscience-ish
Yeah,
to
it's
the
just like
limit. I mean, Star Trek already does a lot of
yeah,
pseudoscience, but
exactly.
this gets
But the thing
really
is,
stretches
most
it.
Star Trek science is actually plausible. The science used in Search for Spock is just
Mm.
like
It's
I
magical
really
science.
don't know about that.
Yeah, it's magic science. It's definitely magic science. Uh, but what did you? I mean, the movie as a whole, there are some good parts in it, right?
Well, I went to see it twice in the cinema, so obviously I didn't hate it at the time. But I wasn't thinking about it too much at the time. The thing with this movie is the more you think about it, the stupider it gets.
Yeah, there's a few firsts here. One is a dying planet, a fight for life, the search for Spock.
Yeah.
One,
And what happened to Kirstie Alley? My
yes,
God.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, Christy is gone. I believe because she just became huge because of
She was in Cheers.
she was in Cheers. And another thing is this is the first time for one of the cast members to direct. This is a Leonard Nimoy directed movie.
Right.
And he directed part 3 and 4, which
He
is
directed
probably
Part 4, which is
yeah,
one of the better ones.
yes, which is probably why Shatner wanted to one up him with 5. And I'm sure to this day Shatner is upset that his movie is not considered one of the great Star Trek movies, but Nimoy's is. No, there's a few things because they're so competitive. I don't think Nimoy was as much as Shatner, but 2 things I know Shatner is pissed off about. One is the Final Frontier is considered the worst, if not one of the original cast movies, and that Nimoy got to live out his Spock role all the way into the reboots, where
Yes.
Shatner got,
Yeah. He
whereas
got killed.
Kirk got a bridge. Oh my God. I mean, that pisses me off. Imagine him, and he's like, he's probably thinking, this bastard, he beat me in the end. And I know he's probably only staying alive for Quentin Tarantino to figure out some way to bring Kirk back if he ever does this wacky Pulp Fiction in space movie. He actually wrote, because Shatner, I mean, we make fun of the good dude, but he's a great Trek mind, let's say. I mean, he's had a lot of great concepts with Trek. He does a lot of great documentaries about Trek, and he writes a lot of good books about Trek. I've read one or two of his Star Trek books. They're really cool. And actually, he has a book where he finds a way to bring Kirk back from the dead, which is nice. I wish they would somehow figure out how to do that. And nowadays, with the de-aging technology and all that, it's not impossible. Uh, I'm gonna just Yeah, I might as well just piggyback on search for Spock a little bit. I got it ranked a little bit higher because otherwise we'll be here all night. So I got it at number 8, the search for Spock, and I I have a weird relationship with this movie because every time I watch it, it kind of goes up in my ranking a little bit. I
Really, I'm
think.
the opposite, man. It keeps going
Let
down
me
for me.
see. I'm looking at my ranking from 2000. Yeah, I had it at number 13. This is from 2016 when I did my rewatch last time, and I had it mostly because it's got a really paper thin plot, and it
It does,
does,
yes.
Um, his story centers around Klingons trying to get their hands on a Genesis device. So it's a very MacGuffin, the MacGuffin. They all want this damn Genesis device.
The Reverend Jim
Um,
is behind it all.
it's a race against time as the Enterprise crew against Starfleet orders head over to the planet.
But the key thing is
Um,
that Christopher Lloyd kills Kirk's son.
and that has ramifications all the way up to
Yes,
Star Trek
yeah,
6.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's pretty much. There's not too many twists. It's got a paper plane plot. But the good thing, and I think that's what I enjoyed about it, is that it really doesn't take that long to get going. It's not a tedious movie to watch.
it's pretty fast.
It's fast. It says what it does what it has to do, which is get Spock back in action. It does kill Kirk's son, so that has ramifications in the future, and it does have the great stealing the Enterprise.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a great
yeah.
scene.
They blow up the Enterprise. That's how they get rid of the bad guy. They
Yeah,
get him on the
yes.
Enterprise and they
Oh,
blow it the
yes, yeah,
fuck up.
yes. There's that, and also stealing it in the
Yeah,
beginning because the admiral was like, "You're not allowed to go to Genesis," and Kirk steals the fucking Enterprise, and that's a great scene.
yeah,
And then and you get more what we get going forward, which is kind of repeated a lot, is that you always have like either a skeleton crew or they're like cadets. Like you never get the full powered Enterprise in any of these movies. They're always,
right.
I think maybe only Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country they actually are sent on a mission with the
Yeah,
correct
they brought
crew.
Christian Slater in for that one.
Yeah, but he was in the Sulu ship, the
Right.
Excelsior.
That's right.
Yeah, but the Enterprise actually has its real crew. Everything's working. I think that's the only one because the motion picture, Kirk kind of comes in last minute. The Star Trek Two, were they powered up for that one going after Khan? I don't remember.
No, they weren't.
Yeah, because there was all the cadets, right? They were like
Yeah,
cadet
yeah.
training. So like,
I think actually Sulu was the commander of his own ship.
no, that's 6. See, the beer's
Okay.
already getting to you.
All right.
Star Trek Two is they've discovered there's the beacon, so they got to go because it was right after the cadets were all training, so they don't have the right people there for that one. 3, they steal the ship, so it's only like the main 6. Because
4, they have no ship.
4, they have no ship; they're flying around with the Klingon ship. 5, it's the retrofit, so it's not working properly. That's why
Yeah.
And then 6, I think, is the only one where this is us 100% powered
Yeah.
because we gotta go get the.
And they still fuck shit up.
I know. So it's weird. That's something that repeats a lot in the original cast movies. They're always undermanned or have some type of disadvantage. But yeah, guys.
Well, because it would be too easy.
Of
Like
course.
I was watching what was it, Beyond today, and
Yes.
and it's like, can we just? Cause that was what I was thinking. Like, just beam them the fuck out. And Scotty's like, no, we can't beam them the fuck out because there's an anomaly. It's like, well, that's convenient. But I mean, if there was an anomaly, it would be too easy, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's always got to be something. There's always got to be something that is going to make it just a little bit harder for them to get out of there. By the way, I don't know if Craig is still on, but if you are, shout out to you. He said he was watching. Yes, so shout out
All
to
right.
Craig.
Cheers, Craig.
Uh, from talking films. He's one of my favorite. He's the guy, Craig. He's watched all these movies, I'm sure, because he's watched every fucking movie ever created. From every country. I don't know where this guy finds time to watch
Yeah,
that.
he's got kids too, man.
I know,
Like, how the
Craig.
fuck do you have
We want
kids
your
and
life.
manage to
We
watch
want your life.
movies?
What God did you sacrifice the blood of babies to? We will sacrifice the blood of babies. We live in a third world country. It is easy to find babies to,
No,
to sacrifice.
like the amazing thing is like the last month, like seriously, like I get up at 5:30 in the morning
Yes.
and I start working and I don't stop until I go to bed.
Yes.
And there's no time in there for movies. So the fact that Craig actually finds time to watch movies
I
is
know.
fucking amazing.
I know. No, we worship you in a weird way. I mean, we hate you and worship you at the same time. So yes, thanks for watching, man. But anyway, so yeah, that's enough of Search for Spock.
Yeah,
It's not a terrible movie by any means. It's
saw it in the
100%.
cinema.
Yeah, it's 100% watchable, and it moves along. Let's see, man. I gotta do 11. 11. Otherwise, we're gonna get too mixed up here. So 11, I have Nemesis, which I believe Nemesis is
Yeah, I
kind of close to
believe
the bottom for
is
you.
it is pretty close to
So we can kind
11
of
for
probably
me.
talk about that all together.
Yes, it was Tom Hardy in space is what that movie is.
Tom Hardy in space.
Fuck, I'm so blind. Ugh, glasses.
Glasses. I got video of you putting on your glasses. It happened.
All right, yes, I have it at number 10.
Nemesis.
Yes, Nemesis.
There's like the
You would
poster.
think that a clone Picard would be, I don't know, beefier.
Wait, a clone Picard would be beefier? What do you mean?
Well. The villain is Tom Hardy.
Oh, and he's real tiny. Yes.
He's really skinny, man.
Yes. Yes. Uh, I didn't know this was Tom Hardy. Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah, it was a late. Actually, I think this is the only one of these movies that was new to me. I think I actually skipped Nemesis completely because like it was completely fresh to me.
Yeah, I think I saw it in the theater. I'm pretty sure I did. I can't remember now, but I'm pretty sure I did. The thing with Nemesis is that this is one of the movies for me that's aged. It's aged well. I think at the time that it came out, I think it came out at the same time as Lord of the Rings. If I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
it was like the
it came out
same.
in 2002, I think. No, 2003.
Yeah, and usually they release these movies at Christmas time, Star
Right.
Trek movies. So it had a lot of competition and it just got drowned out. People weren't that pumped up because of Insurrection before.
And Insurrection,
Yeah.
well, we'll talk about that later.
No, we'll get into
Not
it.
a bad movie.
No, it's not a bad movie at all. So there's such a expectation, and they built that themselves because of First Contact. For a lot of these movies, they have to you got to hit a home run with a Star Trek movie. You don't
Right.
have leeway to make it like a TV episode. If you're going big screen, it's got to be big, real big.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they managed that with this movie. I think that's the problem. Like when I watch both this one and Insurrection, I have them above Genesis because I look at them as more like an episode. It's like a long episode of Star Trek The Next Generation that has a little bit more action, a little bit more explosions, but I can appreciate it more, 10 years or whatever, 15 years after, because I'm not, it's, that feeling you get when you're about to go to the theater because the new Star Wars movie is coming out and it's going to be so awesome. And then imagine if you got The Mandalorian on the big screen. I mean, on the small screen, you're probably enjoying the show, but imagine if you got that on the big screen. You'd be like, wait, where's the massive explosions and traveling to like 10 different planets and
Exactly.
jumping from here, which I think is a little bit of why people didn't dig The Last Jedi as much. I dug it. But anyway, uh, so that's the problem with Nemesis. But I've seen it about 3 or 4 times now, and every time I kind of dig it a little bit more. Like I don't love it, but it's totally a movie I can.
Yeah, it's likable. It's likable.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not great.
Imagine it's raining, you got nothing to do. I can pop in Nemesis. I don't have to think too much, and you get Tom Hardy in space, which is bizarre.
Yeah, that's the thing that fucks it up for me. It's
Yeah.
like, holy shit, man, that's fucking Tom Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
And not only is it Tom
Going
Hardy,
toe to toe with
but
Magic Storm.
it's Tom Hardy as Picard.
Yes.
Wow, that's fucked.
One thing that I think, now this is going Trek nerd zone here, guys, so be prepared. A lot of Trekkies get upset with this movie because they have been wanting a real strong storyline with the Romulans since forever. Apparently, there's like a Romulan war that happened in Star Trek Enterprise, which was the last Star Trek series that was on TV before Star Trek died until the reboots. They ended on season 4, and people were like, "Oh no, well, season 4 was the best season. It got canceled right at the best season, and it would have gone into the Romulan War, which apparently happened." And the Romulans are such an interesting race, but they're not as explored as much as obviously the Klingons and the Vulcans. And the movie
they are a nemesis, though.
No, but not that much. Like there's elements of them. Like okay, Remus, I think, is the planet.
Yes. Well, that's totally like a nod to Roman history.
Yeah, they want to take over Romulus, but they don't really. The Romulans aren't the bad guys. The Romulans, there's not this whole intrigue of what's going on in Romulus. Like
it's basically a foreigner taking over.
Yeah, like it starts with the Romulans, and you think it's going somewhere really cool with the Romulans and the Senate and all that stuff. And you see how the Romulans are kind of what the Klingons were for the TOS cast, where there's still the neutral zone. Picard is like, wow, I'm standing here in the Romulan Senate. Let this be, hopefully this could be a day of peace for our races, blah, 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 blah. But it's still Cold War-ish between, and it doesn't explore that. So for Trek fans, myself included, that puts this movie a little bit down because of that. Like there's a potential to really explore that, and they didn't. Now, what they may do, and now again, we're getting into nerd zone, so this is for all the Trek nerds that are listening to this later. Star Trek Picard takes place in the same timeline.
That's going to be a new series.
A new series coming out in January, and it takes place like in the same timeline. And what happens in that timeline? The J.J. Abrams movie happened in that lifetime. And what happened in the J.J. Abrams movies? Romulus gets destroyed.
Quite completely.
Yes, before it splits into the Kelvin universe, which is the parallel universe.
Yes. Of course.
But the actual Prime universe still exists. And in that Prime universe, Romulus is destroyed, which is similar to what happened with Star Trek VI, where one of the moons of Kronos got destroyed, which made the Klingons have to come closer to the Federation. So I'm very, very curious to see them explore the Romulans and the Romulan culture. Because did you know this, Pete? I'm boring the shit out of Pete right now.
No. I'm actually. I have to go to the bathroom, but I want to hear. I want to hear this.
The Romulans and the Vulcans are actually part of the same race.
Of course they
are. They just kind of split off into.
They're like Cambodians and Thais.
Yes, and they just split off. Like the Vulcans decided logic. The Romulans decided, hey, let's keep our emotions and be ruthless.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to. Is a lot more Romulans in the new series, and Nemesis could have had a lot more Romulan stuff in it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, especially when they blew up the sun in the first scene. I mean,
Yeah, that was such a cool scene, man. It
yeah,
was so
oh, come
unexpected.
on, you can't blow up the Senate and then like not give us anything, which is basically what happened.
Yeah. Run to the bathroom real quick, and I'll talk a little bit more about Nemesis while you're
Yeah, yeah,
gone.
go ahead.
But go
Nemesis has
ahead,
a lot to talk
because
about.
next is your movie. Uh, but another thing with this movie also is that it does kind of feel a little bit repetitive because we've kind of had the same. I mean, we have conflict. Enterprise is the only ship that can go out there. Obviously, it's the only ship in the sector. And Data and Picard are the main protagonists. In fact, you can see their picture there in the poster. Picard is off the ship, and they have a big space battle with Riker commanding the space battle, which is another thing that's very strange about the Next Generation movies is that Picard did not command one space battle in any of these movies. So he always comes off as being what do you call it? I don't know. It's like he was trying to be an action star when Picard is not an action star. I don't think he's believable as one. And I mean, in First Contact, they sort of managed to make him kind of believable, but still, it's not like my favorite version of Picard. Him as the action star. Okay, so guys, that is my number 11 pick. And Peter's taking a piss because we are drinking a lot. So I'm going to take this moment to say thank you to those that have made it this far. This kind of a insane podcast. Um, and you can read my blog, brazuza.wordpress.com, where I write about movies, about life here in Brazil. I'll share it in a link. You can also join Talking Films. You really should, because we have a lot of fun in that Facebook group talking about movies, television series, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Dude, hmm, wait up, because I'm not finished my other one yet. I drink slow. The beer's coming, guys. We're drinking a lot of Bavaria beer, which is from 1877.
Yes, it is the high end of low.
The high end of love. Anyway, um, Pete, before we move on from Nemesis, um, one thing that I do love about it is a space battle. I think that's one of the best space battles in almost, I guess, most
And
all of
they, you
them.
know what? They killed Data too.
Other than the reboots, I think it's probably the greatest space battle. I mean, well, no, even the reboots didn't have great space battles.
Mm.
They were too.
Actually, Beyond actually had amazing space battles. I didn't think that the first time I saw it, but when I
Oh,
was
yeah,
watching
but it
it
was so
today,
one sided. It was just the
yeah,
Enterprise getting fucked up.
yeah, it was.
Um,
It
but
was like
yes,
again.
yeah. No, that was awesome. I like that a lot. But I'm talking just like official ship A in front of ship B. Let's tactically try to destroy each other. I think that that's one of the better ones. And also, uh, yeah, it's in a complaint that a lot of people give that it turned really to the Picard and Data show. Now, you could
Eh,
argue that the originals are the Spock and Kirk show, except that I think they give the other cast members a little bit more to do. But the other cast in the original series, like they weren't given such a lofty spot. Even if you go back to the original series up to the movies, like they were there. They're like background. Like Sulu's there, but he's background. Uhura's there, but
right,
she's background.
right.
Whereas TNG really made it a point to,
They developed the
yeah, they
characters very
did.
well,
They really did. So
and Deep Space Nine even
oh
more
well,
actually.
that's a whole other level of
Yeah,
development. But
yeah.
you really love Jordy, you love Troy, you love Riker, because and they've all had episodes that centered
I didn't
just
love
on them.
Riker.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like they could
Yeah,
have 1 hour episodes for 7 seasons where this is the Riker story, this is the
right,
Beverly Crusher story, this is
right.
the. So then when you get to the movies, they didn't always do a really good job at splitting.
I don't think it was necessary, though. I think it was implied that we understood these characters already, and it wasn't necessary for them to develop them
Well, not
anymore.
develop, but
And
have
and they did, though. They
give them
did.
something to
Like
do,
like we
though.
talked about earlier about Deanna. She was like a nothing character in the TV series.
Yes.
And by a nothing character, by Next Generation standards, it's still like well above the horror standards in
Yes.
the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So she was still a pretty well developed character.
Well,
But in the movies, they gave her like tons more moxie than they did in the series.
yeah, but see, and that's the thing. The two movies I put above, she has more to do. She does
Right.
nothing in Nemesis. Like she drives the ship again,
Right.
and in the in what do you call it, in Genesis, which I have as like my least favorite, the Next Generation, she drives a ship.
Right.
She crashes it. Yeah. So now in First
when we can't
Contact,
drive, what can you
yeah,
say?
in First Contact and even in Insurrection, she does a little bit more, you know. So I think that's why I put them a little bit higher. Like Nemesis very much feels like this is the Picard in the Data show.
Right.
There, and another thing that's, I don't know if you noticed with the Next Generation movies, Picard does not command one space battle. It's always the same, so it feels a little repetitive.
No, he's always being rescued. That's what's
Yeah,
happening.
he's always off the ship.
Yeah.
And Riker has to command the ship during the battles and rescue Picard in every single one of these movies. So that kind of pisses me off a little bit. But
and he's very resentful. Like he tries to hide it. Like Picard's my mentor, he's my hero. Blah. But secretly, he's like, motherfucker. Like, how much longer do I have to serve?
No, I think these are some of the reasons why Nemesis kind of killed Trek, because it just felt repetitive. Every single one of these movies, there's the conflict. They go out. They're the only ship in the area or something, except for First Contact, obviously. And then they have to. Picard ends up off the ship or captured. Riker ends up in a space battle, and then at the last minute they save Picard, and Data is involved in that somehow, some way, and then boom. So anyway, let's move on. It's your turn. What is your number something? I don't know where your paper went.
I think
this is my paper.
Actually.
No, that's mine.
Right.
Peter lost his list.
No, it's in my back pocket.
All right.
I just need my glasses. All right.
Guys, I hope you're having fun with our ranking. It's going to go till late. There's going to be a long ranking.
Yes. Good thing I don't have to work tomorrow. All right. So
I got to get up at 7, but it's fine. If I get a good 2 hours, we might have to split this into 2 podcasts.
So next is actually the one I watched today, Beyond.
Star Trek Beyond, which kind of killed the reboots for a while, but it seems like they're coming back.
Actually, it seemed a lot better watching it the second time than it did the first, because honestly, like I really liked Into Darkness, and we will talk more about that
Into
later.
Darkness.
But after that, Beyond was a real letdown. But if you just take it as what it is, it's not bad. I mean, it's aliens and space shit.
It's got a lot less. What do you call that thing that I hate? Lens flare.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I just mean like if you like movies about spaceships blowing each other up and aliens, it's not bad.
That's all you got to say about Beyond. I think it's fucking awesome, Beyond.
Really?
Yeah, I love Beyond. Look, Beyond, for whatever reason, when I watched it in the theater, I didn't like it that much. I thought the bad guy wasn't that well developed, cruel.
Well, no, it was just like it was Attack of the Weird Aliens. It's like, okay, it's Star Trek. We have the Enterprise. We're gonna put them in conflict with aliens,
What's his
and
name? Crawl.
that's gonna be the movie. And it was weak, but weak by Star Trek standards is still pretty good.
Yeah, what I liked about this movie, let me see, that was your number what?
That was my number nine.
Number 9. All right. I won't talk too much about Beyond. I'll talk about it because I've ranked it a little bit higher. I'm going to talk about my number 9, which is one that you love a lot, which is Into Darkness.
Ah, yes.
Into Darkness. So why do I rank this low? I ranked it a little bit higher this time than I had before because I don't know. I watched it like last night. It was like last minute watch for me. I'm trying to get the poster here for Star Trek Into Darkness, and it's a little bit harder than I thought it would be to find. There it is, Star Trek Into Darkness. Now this was a big hit, and there's the Enterprise nearly getting destroyed, but not quite. In this movie, there's a lot to like about this movie. I mean, J.J. Abrams knows how to direct fucking an action movie. I mean,
Yeah,
you
he
can't
is
take
full
that.
on. He is full
You
on.
can't take that away from him. I liked what he did with Star Wars. In that, I guess, is a good segue into one of the reasons a lot of Trek fans don't like this movie and don't like J.J. Abrams in Star Trek is because he is a bona fide Star Wars fan. He admits it. He didn't know that much about Star Trek. He just kind of signed on and kind of learn on the job. So you're missing a lot of what makes Star Trek in these movies,
Right.
which is the character moments, not necessarily development, but the character moments, the Star Trek philosophy, the like you said at the beginning, the utopia, the we're better, we're trying to do something to change society and humanity for the better. And instead, you get a lot of explosions, a lot of fast space battles, and fastest, and they're exciting, but it just, as a Trek fan, I guess, coming from that side, I'm like, okay, but it leaves me kind of empty at the end. It's like there's nothing there that I can go back and say, wow, that was an interesting thing that interesting point they made, or anything like that. So I guess that's why before in my other ranking, I had it really low. I had it, I think, at number 12 or something. Let me see. I had Final Frontier at 12, 10. I had it at 10. Now it kind of got bumped up. Oh, it got bumped up to 9.
Okay.
Okay, I guess it didn't get bumped up that much. All right, so I bumped it up 1 from 2016. It got bumped up 1 space because I did. I watched it last night and it was 100% entertaining.
Especially like what made that movie for me was like that was the movie where Spock got his action chops on.
Yes.
He goes toe to toe with Khan, and he doesn't win, but he kind of holds his own.
Yeah, Spock. Look at this. I said my notes here. It took me 7 minutes and 20 seconds to remember I hate this movie. Why? Because that's when Spock says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So there's so much forced fan service, and of course the fact that this is like a rewrite of Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan.
But that I actually like that respect. I like the fact that they completely reversed everything. Like the fact that it's Kirk who dies in the radiation chamber, and it's Spock who goes screaming Khan.
Yeah, but look, I'll give you. Like I was pumped up. Like Star Trek 2009, you're gonna see it's like way up on my list. It's up there with like the TOS movies. Okay. I really love Star Trek 2009. So here I am, pumped with Star Trek. Star Trek's back. Star Trek's been dead forever, and it's back. Yeah. The new generation's getting into it. It's part of pop culture, whatever. So I'm in. I guess some people always say, "Well, you shouldn't have expectations," but how could you not? Okay,
right?
You have this whole new, like a free landscape. Like you created an alternate universe. You can go anywhere. You can even have the Borg show up if you want. Like
Mhm.
you have this alternate universe. And what we get instead is a rehash with a bunch of the same dialogue, a bunch of the same, like the reversal of like Kirk saves the ship instead of Spock, of
Right.
what's already a classic. I could see maybe, all right, let's reboot the Final Frontier. Let's reboot the motion picture. Like
Yeah,
let's like
that would
deal
be a
with like a
better
space
idea.
anomaly. But you're gonna reboot what already is a bona fide. It's not my favorite Star
I,
Trek movie,
I
but
understand.
you ask 90% of Star Trek fans what's the best Star Trek movie, they're gonna say Wrath of Khan.
Right.
Uh, so that's the problem that I have with it. Like I watch it, and every time like he's like, my name is Khan, and you're like, one, like who the fuck is Khan? Like Kirk doesn't know who Khan is. Like to build it up, and they
Right.
tried to build it up so much, and then it's such a letdown. One because it kind of leaked.
It surprised me actually. It legitimately surprised me when
Ugh.
I first started watching that movie. I had no idea it was a con movie.
Oh no, I kind of knew beforehand because it did kind of leak. They tried to keep it a secret, but it was like the worst kept secret. You know, because they made it seem like he was what's his name?
He was a Starfleet officer.
Yeah, which is a character from the TOS series that kind of goes haywire. I forgot his name now, but anyway. Um, so that's my biggest issue with the movie. It's like, man, you have so, and that's why I think I like Beyond a little bit because I like the title because it actually goes beyond it. Like it
Right.
leaves everything behind the TOS stuff. Like, okay, we're in a parallel universe. Let's find new worlds, new civilizations, new bad guys, and have fun with this. Not give you a rehash of a movie I've already seen, and which is way better, which actually
Yeah.
has stakes. Because that's another thing. Yes, is it kind of cute, whatever, that Kirk dies instead of Spock? But 5 minutes later, he's
He's
alive.
alive,
There's like
yeah.
there's no stakes. There's
But
no.
I will tell you what. One thing I really loved about this movie is when Spock calls himself, basically, and he's like,
Oh,
have you ever heard of this guy Khan?"
yeah,
And Spock is like, "Yeah, well, I'm kind of sworn not to tell you about the
yeah. But I
past,
guess I will anyway.
but he's really fucking badass,
Yeah,
man."
yeah. You see, that I thought that felt shoehorned in. I didn't like that, and it because then it gives you an even greater reminder of how much better the Wrath of Khan is because he says it in a dialogue. He's like, "We did defeat him, but at great cost."
Yeah,
What great cost? I mean, obvious, other than the cosmetic cost of like
right.
the Enterprise is all fucked up at the end, but you feel the weight of the Wrath of Khan. Like you feel it on Kirk's shoulder. He's like, "Oh my god, this is this one dude because of this one mistake I made 15 years ago. My son's in danger. My lover or whatever's in danger.
Right.
My best friend just died. Crew members are dying. These young kids because the cadets had to go out and fight this, and he's like, all right, let's take the cadets. I mean, I'm Captain Kirk, and we can handle this, whatever it is. It's a stress call out here at the star base. We're from I'm talking about Wrath of Khan, and you definitely feel the weight of it. You feel the weight of him feeling old. You feel the weight of all these things like that make that movie what it is, as good as it is, and then Into Darkness. I mean,
But
what
you know what Into Darkness had that Wrath of Khan didn't,
better
and
special effects?
no, it was corruption within Starfleet.
Oh yes,
Peter Weller was the real bad guy.
yes, yes. RoboCop.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mm. No, that stuff I like. Section 31 and all that stuff is kind of cool to see. Although Starfleet's always been kind of corrupt in the background, but yeah, that stuff's cool. But it's a very surfacey movie for me. It's like probably of all of them, it's the most surfacey one.
Really?
Where no, because come on, where I mean, I guess Kirk's arc is that what is his arc? Like it doesn't seem like he learned anything. He just kind of wakes up from his coma. I guess. Well, I mean, they're
Well,
supposed to get him to be like, stop being.
I don't think Kirk is ever supposed to be a person who realizes his higher self. I think Kirk's character is an egomaniac, and we're supposed to be fine with that.
No, but he's really not. Like if you see Shatner's version of Kirk. Now, yes, does he bend the rules? Definitely. Does he take risks? Definitely. But they're all very calculated, and his number one priority is my crew going to be okay? You know, I'm willing to give myself up for
He
my
does
crew.
put his crew first.
Yeah, and whereas this other Kirk, this alternate, the Kelvin Kirk,
Right.
he's just kind of like this bad boy in space. That's not what Kirk was. I mean, he never was this. He was a very, I mean, if you watch it, even in the original series, he was a very pensive guy. He was, I mean, a lot of the conflicts, obviously due to um, budget constrictions in the 1960s, a lot of stuff he had to talk his way through. It was like a chess game. You watch the original series episodes, Kirk is deep. Now, yes, is he willing to just kind of put himself out in the line every once in a while, take some risks? Yes, but they're always very calculated, very thought out. He listens to everybody around him before he makes any decisions. And I guess now in Beyond, I like Pine's. It's like he seems older. He seems a little bit more mature. But I wish they would have done that earlier in the movies because Into Darkness, he just feels like this is like a rebel without a cause in space. You know, like he gets the ship taken away because of that first opening scene where he totally goes against the Prime Directive.
Yeah, where
the ship is hidden underwater, which I still think is ridiculous.
Yeah, and honestly, he didn't deserve that actually.
Dude, no, and he's got that sit down with Captain Pike, Admiral Pike, and he's not listening to him. He's like, yeah, and but the thing is, that could be a moment for him to learn something. But what happens? 15 minutes later, everybody gets killed. He gets the ship back.
Yeah.
You know, so there's
That's
never
true.
anything in the movie that I feel like these characters are learning and growing, and something is happening to them which is deep and meaningful, which is the biggest criticism that the kind of the gatekeeper, let's call them Trek fans,
Right.
have with these new movies is that this is not Trek. This is just like Star Wars with the Trek characters implanted. You know, it's more just adventure. And I mean, I get it. I don't feel the same way because I do enjoy them on that cosmetic
I mean,
level.
I feel like if you're not going to go down that road, then there's not really any point. I mean,
It's got to be a good balance of it. I think Beyond was the closest to the balance of awesome action, awesome twists and sci-fi. I mean, special effects, but character moments. But we'll talk about Beyond in a little bit.
yeah, and I mean, the thing about Kirk as a character is he's an amazing character, but there are so many directions you can go with him.
Yes,
and you shouldn't fucking shit on people for taking a direction that maybe you don't agree with it.
yeah. No, I don't. Like I said, the problem I have is not how they characterize him. It's fine that he's like a playboy, whatever.
Yeah,
But even still,
he's fucking a lot of women in those.
No,
movies.
yeah, a lot. But even still, within a 2 hour time, what do you call it? Timescape, whatever.
Yeah.
Time span. It would be nice to just have like a smidgen, sprinkle a little bit of character development, sprinkle a little bit of at the end. Oh my God, I didn't realize that. You know, like you have with even the Final Frontier, where at the end Kirk kind of changes a little bit. You know, like
yeah, well, he hates the Klingons because they murdered his son.
Yeah, you know, so there you see a little bit of a change between. I mean, that's what like that. That's like
and
writing 101.
and in generations, actually, in
Yeah,
generations, he's like living in a continuous loop, and then
he
Picard kind
realizes.
of
Yeah,
rescues him, and he's like, "Dude, you've been living like the same existence for like
yeah,
30 years."
and he needs to wake up out of that. I think.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest problem with the motion picture. I mean, I they all hate each other. I mean, it's a dark movie at the beginning, and at the end, Spock, I guess, becomes friends with him again. But there's nothing really that happens that you're like, oh my god, either I had to sacrifice a lot to get to where I am, or I changed a lot from minute one of this movie to minute. Like you get this sense that at the end of Into Darkness, hey, I woke up from, I thought I was dead and
yeah,
now I'm not. So let's go back out there and do more crazy shit again. Like, wait, you know, almost all your crew died. You lost a lot of people. Like,
yeah.
what does Khan represent for you as a captain that's trying to mature in this job? Because at some point, you got to mature. I mean, that's my only, well, my biggest problem with Into Darkness is that it's a very, very surfacey movie, as enjoyable as it is, and it really is. It's a well-made fucking movie. I can't take that away from Into
Oh
Darkness.
yeah, and you know what? That
But
that actually predates Star Wars. And when I saw that JJ was directing the
yeah, yeah,
first Star Wars movie, I was
yeah,
like, "Fuck, man, they hired the right man for that
I
one."
felt the same way because I said, I mean, I watched 2009 and Into Darkness, and I felt like a lot of fans did. Maybe not with so much vitriol and hate, but I said these feel a lot more like Star Wars than Star Trek. Imagine if he did Star Wars, and then he did Star Wars. I was like, this fuck. I knew I was pumped up for Star Wars. I was
Yeah,
like, that's gonna be fucking awesome. Like, cause that's his wheelhouse. Uh, yeah, because Star Trek, like it or not, guys, Star Trek it's gotta have slow moments, like it or not. That's part of what Star Trek is. I mean, you can try to change it a little bit, like with the new show Discovery. Yeah, it's fucking incredible to watch. If you get a chance to watch it, you'll love it just based on the effects. It's something that as modern as you're gonna get on a TV show, 2019 or 18, whatever season one was. But the biggest criticism is that it was a little bit too frenetic. You got in season two, I think they were able to balance it a little bit, where you have these awesome stuff that you think you'd see in a movie theater type special effects and action scenes, but they slowed it down every once in a while. Hey, let's talk. Let's figure out why we should do this. What's the ethics behind this? What's you know, you take that out of Star Trek. That's not Star Trek anymore. Then
no,
it's whatever it is. So Into Darkness didn't have that. So enough of that. Let's move on to well, I just did my number nine. I did number eight already. Search for Spock. What number are you on?
fuck, I need to put my glasses
Well,
on.
here I can probably read it for you. You got Nemesis, Beyond, Insurrection. I think
Insurrection,
eight.
yes,
So this is
Insurrection.
number eight,
Yes,
which is
Insurrection is an incredibly enjoyable movie. This is at the point where I say these movies are all good. The ones I rank lower than this, I would say you could call them bad.
mm-hmm.
But Insurrection is a good movie in every way. Um, the only reason it ranks as low as 8 is just that other movies are better.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, you couldn't find no fault with it. And what I really like about it is it lives up to the title. It is Picard leading a rebellion against Starfleet. Like
yes.
ballsy, man.
Mm-hmm.
And not only does he lead a rebellion against Starfleet, but he gets the whole crew to go along with him. He's like, I'm doing this with you or without you, motherfuckers. And they go along with him. So, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, and the biggest, I guess what you call criticism of this movie, and I'll just go into it too because it's my number seven. And every time I watch it, it goes up a little bit more in my ranking. But the biggest criticism of it is that it does definitely feel like a
A TV
season. Yeah,
episode.
it's like a long TV episode. I can't find the image, guys, for this movie for whatever reason. It's there, um, but whatever. We're talking about Star Trek Insurrection at the moment, but the yeah, the biggest uh, criticism is that, and if that's the criticism, I can live with it. I think the hate that it got is more based on the fact that
It followed First Contact.
yes, I mean, how do you follow First Contact? You
Yeah.
don't. First Contact was just from another planet. Um, but as with Nemesis, I think that time has been kind to it because those you don't have those feelings as strong.
Right.
You kind of moved on from it. You realize, okay, this is just what it is. This is what you get as far as the movie. Deal with it, and it's not a terrible movie at all to deal with. It's actually kind of an interesting little tale.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's an interesting little tale. Like it's just a story about Picard rebelling against the Federation, and that in itself is an amazing story.
Yeah, and what I like, and it's the complaint that I had filed for Nemesis and Generations, is that it gives the entire crew a little bit of time to do something. The
Yeah.
whole crew.
That is also a Data Goes Nuts series
Yes.
as well.
Yes, at the very beginning. Uh, hmm. I like Jordy. Jordy has a beautiful moment where, like, because the planet that they're on, something about the planet rejuvenates them.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh my God! My favorite scene in this movie is when
with the tits.
yes, the tits. What is it? Dr. Crusher is like, do you notice your breasts are getting firmer?
Yeah, it's not that we care about these things in the 23rd century.
Yeah. And Data copies it
To Worf.
No, to Worf. Yeah. Yeah. Do you notice your breasts are getting firmer?
Oh yes, no, that's great. And also the in Worf with the big ass pimple, because he's definitely feeling what is it, violent tendencies, sir.
Yeah.
No, it's so cheesy, but it's so good. And also Geordi when he's able to see for the first time and he actually sees a sunrise, and you get LeVar Burton for like 30 seconds just being the great actor that he is. Like he just that look that he gives, because I've seen a bunch of sunrises, but a little bit differently than you. This is a little bit different, and his eyes kind of well up, so that always gets me. I mean, there's so many great moments in this movie. The bad guy is a little campy, played by what's his name from Amadeus, the actor. I forgot his name.
F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah, no, he definitely hams it up. Like when he finds out that Picard and Data managed to get him into a holodeck program and they didn't really blow up the planet. I guess out that it's reminiscent of Shatner with the Khan, the scream heard out in space. The final battle between him and Picard is kind of cheesy, where they're trying to. It's because it's very
well. Once again, Picard does not really fight.
Yeah, he doesn't fight, and it's once again, and again, this is the biggest problem with the Generations movies, aside from First Contact. In Generations, the climax is Picard fighting another dude for a remote control on a console. This movie is the same thing. It's Picard on a console with the other guy trying to get him. And Star Trek Nemesis is the same thing. It ends the same way. Picard's on a console with fucking Tom Hardy trying to stop him from pressing some button. I'm like, come on. They could have come up with something a little bit more interesting than that. So very repetitive in that sense. But I recommend this movie. I think it's one that if you take away your feelings and it's you can, because First Contact has not come out a week ago or last year, and
Yeah.
you're so pumped up to watch what they have next. If you take that out and just take Insurrection for what it is, it's a movie worth watching,
Yeah,
and it's got
what
a
I
lot of
really liked about
trekkiness in it.
what I really liked about it, it was the crew of the Enterprise completely rebelling against Starfleet, and Starfleet embodies everything that is good.
Yeah.
Really, like Starfleet is like utopia,
Yes.
and this was like Picard and the crew of the Enterprise saying like, maybe, but not today.
Not today.
Yeah,
Not today. And then he gets the whole. And I love the scene where he decides he's going to actually go out and fight, and then the rest of the cast shows up, the main six or whatever, seven, however many they are. And Data has that line where he says, I don't know, let me. I should remind you that due to the planet's atmosphere, a lot of you may be feeling emotional, juvenile feelings that
yeah,
create all of this. So Beverly's like, so Data, and he says, of course, this doesn't affect me. So Beverly's like, so what do you think we should do, Data? And he's like, lock and load, like,
yeah,
which is in the trailer.
yeah.
It's so cheesy. That's the thing with these movies. Like sometimes they get cheesy, but they're like fun cheesy. You're just like, come on, you have to enjoy it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed the Next Generation movies. I should go back and watch that series because honestly, like,
Good luck getting through season one. I'll tell you. That's all I'll say. But it's a great series. It's boring as fuck, but it's a great series. The thing I don't like with the Next Generation, and you get a little bit spoiled after you watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, is the reset button. They
right.
go through like the most traumatic thing you could ever go through, and then next week it's Stardate 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. We are orbiting the whatever system. It's like last week, half of your crew almost died, and half of your crew. No, and it's a galaxy starship, which I never got that about Star Trek Next Generation. Like they have this big ass ship where they have families and little kids, and they're going into like
Yeah.
these dangerous situations all the time.
Well, even in Star Trek 2009, like Kirk is born on the
Yes.
Enterprise.
No, but that okay. I can kind of okay. You're gonna fuck somebody out in space at some point. People are gonna be born. And eventually, I mean, okay, we're at the closest star base, leave the mom and the kid, and so he's not out here and it's dangerous. But a starship is not a place for a little kid. But and that's Gene Roddenberry. That's all Gene, because he wanted the big happy family. So he wanted a starship that's going out to fight Klingons to have a nursery in an elementary school, in a hydroponic lab, and little kids that are showing their science experiments. And Wesley Crusher was supposed to be that bridge for the kids, because he wanted to get kids into science. And God bless him for it. I mean, but is it stupid? Yes. Why would you have a bunch of kids and families living on this starship?
Who actually manages to save the starship on an almost weekly basis?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wesley. That's the thing. Wesley was billed as like the kid genius who would know the answers to the problems, but he just came off as.
And the captain hates him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that whole aspect to it.
But I did a rewatch because TNG is a series that I didn't really get into. It took me a while to get into TNG because I came from TOS. TNG Next Generation, TOS, the original series, in case you're not a super Trek nerd. But anyway, and it took me a while because it's TOS was a lot of action, a lot of like, okay, we're gonna go diplomatic for about 30 minutes, but if that doesn't work, I'm not against just punching.
Yeah, well, that was what made me laugh about what was it?
I'm not against just beating the shit out of you.
The second Khan movie, what was it?
Yes.
Into Darkness.
Yes.
Where they give Kirk all kinds of shit for violating the Prime Directive.
Yes.
It's like, seriously, dude, did you see Kirk in the original series? He violated the
That's all
Prime
he had.
Directive in every
Yeah,
episode.
that's him. That's what he did. It's like, well, I think this planet needs a little American Constitution. I think this, I think this planet needs a little bit of American democracy.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no, definitely, it's or like you guys seem a little bit too savage
Yeah.
to be.
It's like I'm all about democracy and shit. You guys are fucked up, so
Yeah, you're a
I'm
bunch
here to impose some fucking rule of law.
Yeah, you're a bunch of savages. So here's no, it's very imperialistic in that sense. It's a reflection of American imperialism in that sense. But I mean, it's got a charm to it in its own way, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because he's not wrong. He's
Yes.
not wrong.
No, I mean definitely. I mean, at the end, he does give.
I mean,
his
the
speech.
big moral dilemma at the beginning of Into Darkness is Spock is about to get burned in a volcano, and he has a choice of like exposing the Enterprise or letting Spock die.
Yeah.
And he chooses to save Spock.
Yeah.
And Spock is, of course, completely ungrateful.
Yeah. That green-blooded bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like, come on, dude. Like, oh, not only is Spock ungrateful, he reports him to Starfleet and gets him fired.
Yes. No, that was funny. That beginning part is funny. And then they give each other this look in that movie when he's like, "Do you know why I saved you?" And Spock's like, "What?" And then Kirk just walks off like he's like this angry girlfriend. Uh, but with TNG, it's a slower show. I mean, you think TOS is slow? For me, TNG was super slow because one, Picard doesn't do shit. He's all about diplomacy all the way till the very last end. Like, if the whole crew has to die, I'm not gonna throw a punch. I'm not gonna blow you up. Whereas Kirk was a little bit more low. It's like
Kirk was a loose cannon.
Wasn't a loose cannon, man. He was like big stick diplomacy. Speak softly but carry a big stick. Where Picard is totally like more Jimmy Carter-ish,
Right.
like peace and love.
Jimmy Carter-ish.
And it took me a long time to get into the Star Trek The Next Generation. I couldn't dig it at all because it was too happy, too everything's just gonna be all right. And it's like, man, you're out in deep space. Things are not all right, So I think that's what hurts the Next Generation movies a little bit is because you could see how the writers are trying to make them more action movies, but TNG was never about action.
But I think the thing that makes Picard as a character is this complete lack of, and I mean, I'm hoping this is something that the new series will address because it's never been addressed. Is his lack of any kind of family connection? Like he seems to have nobody. Like Starfleet is his life. Yeah, and that's what makes him a good captain. Yeah, but there's obviously something lacking there. Like how does this guy like have this void that is just filled by Starfleet? Yeah, I mean they touch on it in Generations because his brother and nephew die. They get burned up in a fire or something. But you're right. That's one thing that makes him a little cold. It took me a long time to warm up to Picard because of that. He's a very cold captain, and I think as the series ran, as it went on, he warmed up a little bit. Like him as an actor, he can learn how to be like more fatherly. Like he became that fatherly figure you wanted. I think Patrick Stewart as an actor learned how to own the character. Yeah, no, because if you watch the first season, and this goes back to what I started this whole ramble here, diatribe, is I had never seen the first couple seasons of Star Trek TNG. I mean, I watched it growing up when it was on syndication, blah, blah, blah. And it was the Star Trek everybody remembers, which is from season 4 on when the show actually got good, But man,
watch the first season, you're like, wow, this show is a fucking mess, and you hate Picard. He's a fucking asshole,
Yeah,
and I mean, it's just a matter of they didn't have the characters. They didn't know who these characters were, and a lot of times it felt like they were trying to just copy TOS.
they were definitely copying. I
Yeah,
mean, Data was basically supposed to be
yeah,
like Spock.
Spock. Yeah, and then it took them a while. It really, I mean, for me, it was only like mid season three when you get the Borg for the first time. I mean, you have a
Ah, the
conflict
Borg
with
was a
them.
wonderful introduction.
Yeah, but when there's this great episode where Q takes them to the other side of the galaxy and he shows them the Borg and he brings them back. But there's this whole intrigue there where you get this sense that Starfleet knows about the Borg, but they're not telling you everybody else. So you get this darker element involved, and that's when I think people were starting to be able to stand up to Gene Roddenberry and say, "I'm sorry, dude. Like, Happy Family is not good drama. You know,
Right.
like it just doesn't create good drama. You need to have an evil bad guy. You need to have people in Starfleet that maybe aren't out for the best interest of everybody. You know
And
that."
that is where Peter Weller
Yes.
comes
No, that's
in.
why that's that cool part of Into Darkness. But it was introduced into TNG. So I think the next generation movies suffer a little bit because these characters were never built to be as great as they became. They were never built to be action stars.
Yeah, but
You
the
know.
actors themselves actually made them very self-realizing.
Oh yeah, no, they're great. I mean, I love them, but I think that's why for me they go the TOS movies are always ranked a little bit higher than the with the exception obviously of First Contact. Or I
All
don't
right.
have any that are in my top five except for First Contact. But anyway, let's move on. We talked a little bit. You talked a little bit about Beyond. I'm not going to talk too much about Beyond, except to say that what I liked about it compared to the other movies is of the reboot series is that it was the first one where we got character moments where we just they paired them up. Like when the ship gets destroyed, they land on the planet. You get Spock and
The
McCoy
ship got
together.
fucked up
Oh,
in
really
that
fucked
movie.
up. Yeah, no, they got totally obliterated. You have Kirk and Spock in one section, one part of the planet together. You have McCoy meeting that crazy
Alien
alien
bitch.
with the white. Yeah, she was awesome. Uh, you have Kirk with Chekhov. That was a good pairing because you have this very young green guy, and you can tell Kirk's matured more in Beyond. He just looks
Yeah, well, they
and
actually make a point of saying that they've been in space for 3 years.
yes,
So there's a point of saying there like
he's
we did
mature.
we didn't just go from the last movie to this
Yeah.
one. Like there's been
No, and
years
it's
going
cool.
on
It
here.
feels more like Kirk. It feels like, oh wow, this is the Kirk that, even with the few alterations in the character, but I expect to see commanding the ship. Uh, and you have Ahura and Sulu kind of get caught with the bad guy Crawl, Crawl or Cruel. I forgot his exact name, but anyway. Uh, and it gives them time to breathe. It gives these characters, for the first time out of all these movies, time to breathe and be themselves, and you get to explore them a little bit more. Gives them something to do. So that's why I love the movie. Uh, why I don't like the movie is because I think the bad guy is kind of weak. I mean, I kind of got into him a little bit more this second viewing. I didn't hate him as much, but there's nothing really memorable about him. I mean, he's
Right.
just like, I'm gonna destroy you know, because he got marooned out there. He got left out in space by Starfleet, so he's
Yeah.
and
It was a very weak concept. Basically, it was a chance to use the characters in a different scenario, but they didn't really give much thought to the scenario.
yeah, that I agree with. It feels extremely rushed. Like of the reboot movies, it definitely felt like the one that is most like well, let's just put something like just straight them on a planet and we'll
Yeah.
figure it out, like because Beyond is full of twists and turns and this and that and this, and Into Darkness is even more like super like twists with this, and there's the Section 31, and we're going here, and is Khan on their side or not on their side? There's a whole lot going on. In this one, yeah, of the three, and I guess it makes sense that it didn't have as much buzz. I think of the three, it's the one. I mean, it performed well in the movies, but it didn't give enough buzz where people are like, "Where's part four? Where's part four?"
Yeah,
And we
no,
haven't
I
had
mean,
part four.
if they hadn't made a part four, which they haven't yet,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be disappointed.
yeah. Although one is coming.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is a new Star Trek movie.
Yes.
I am going to get another beer, sir. You want one?
No. Wow, it made 343 million, which is a lot, but compared to Star Trek Into Darkness, 467 millions. So, I mean, it is what it is. But go ahead, get a beer, get a beer.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my usual rundown of the box office of Star Trek movies and see which one of these, because we're getting towards the end of the list. Uh, by the way, thank you,
I'm here.
guys, for um, hanging with us. This is a super long, 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 long podcast,
Yeah.
but we're kind of having fun with it. Let's see here.
Yes, Star Trek is amazing. Star Trek is amazing.
We're gonna.
My fly is open.
It. I'm looking here at the numbers, a website here called the Numbers, and the numbers could help us by having the box office in. Oh, there it is. Cool. So I'm gonna click on here. I always like to. I really like numbers. So we're gonna look at the numbers for Star Trek. Which one of these movies made the most money? And
I bet it was the motion picture.
no, I mean, I don't know if this is if they did any what do you call it? When they do the adjustment for inflation.
Oh yes,
Yes.
yes.
But Nemesis is the one that made the least money. And it kind of killed Star Trek for a long time. Star Trek Final Frontier, and then we got Search for Spock, Wrath of Khan, 95 million, Undiscovered, 96 million. Wow. Insurrection, 117. But if you compare that to First Contact, look at the drop. That made 150, and then Insurrection made 117, and then Nemesis 67. So Paramount was like,
Yeah.
we're done with this. Voyage Home, super popular movie, made 133 million. The motion picture,
I saw that in the theaters.
motion picture made 139
No, motion
million.
picture was a box office hit.
That's crazy.
It was a critical bomb, but it
Yeah.
was a box office hit
Wow.
because people went to see it.
Yeah.
Like people didn't know it sucked.
Yeah.
When they went to see it.
First Contact gets 150, and then see, Beyond it made the least money out of these new three. So the 2009 movie made 386, and then Into Darkness did what a sequel should do, which is add to that. But then Beyond did what a third movie should not do, which is make less money than the first one. So we got all the way down. So Star Trek Into Darkness is the biggest out of all of these, but I'm not sure if it's adjusted to inflation. And then you have the Blu-ray. Look at that, they made a lot of money off of domestic video sales, 41 million. Star Trek
video
Beyond.
sales make huge amounts of money.
Yes. But I mean, it's a franchise that definitely made money for the studio. 2 billion.
Holy
Two
shit.
billion. That's worldwide. Domestic, it's a
That's
1
almost
billion.
as much money as the PT stole from taxpayers.
Yeah, it's like 4 million reais, right? 4 billion reais. Sorry.
Yeah.
So just about, and then domestic box office. Yeah, these movies average about 174, so that's kind of like the wheelhouse that you want. It's just that the production budgets are so much higher for these new ones that they have to make 400
Yeah, well, they have to
or
be
more.
because I mean, honestly, if you like, one of the
Yeah.
reasons I was not a big fan of Search for Spock is it looked cheap. It did.
Yes. Yes.
Compared to Star Wars, like if you're competing against Star Wars, man, you need to look better than that.
Yeah.
And Star Trek wised up to that, and the new movies look a lot better.
The new movies and the new show, dude. I'm telling you, watch Star Trek Discovery. You're gonna be amazed by the special effects. Like the stuff looks like just a little bit under what you would see in a major motion picture. Like the effects are that good, the battle scenes and stuff like that. It's incredible how much money they're throwing, and I'm sure Picard's gonna look beautiful too. Star Trek Picard, just from the trailers, it looks like they spent a lot of money. So now we are moving on to your number seven, which I'm gonna be very angry with. I think it's Undiscovered Country.
Undiscovered Country, yes.
This
Cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war.
this upsets me no end. The fact that the Undiscovered Country is rated so
Because
low
it's so low.
on your
Really,
But go ahead.
I think it's deserving. It's in the middle. It's in the middle.
That should be higher. But anyway,
All right.
anyway,
All right, because I know it was your introduction to Star Wars or
not
Star
Star
Trek,
Wars.
Star Trek. Sorry, but yeah, it was your introduction, and
It wasn't my introduction. I just think it's a great movie.
all right,
But go ahead.
all right.
This is
So
me.
yes,
This is me angry. But go ahead.
all right. So yes, this is I think an excellent way to recover from the fumble that was part five.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean part five was a mess. And it's like if you're gonna continue this, like you need a good story.
Yes.
And I think the Undiscovered Country is a great story. Um, it goes a bit heavy on the virtue signaling, I would say, because I mean, you know, hitting Klingons is obviously a metaphor for racism, and Kirk especially has a hate on for Klingons because they killed his son. So he's got this hatred, and you look at him, it's like, dude, you're my hero. I don't want you to be a hateful person. Like, please mellow out and be more chill. And of course, he eventually does. Um, the fact that there is a traitor in the midst is totally obvious, and the fact that who the traitor is completely obvious. It's like, yeah, I knew it was her. It was obviously her. Like the only reason she exists in this movie is to be the traitor. So there is that aspect to it. But besides that, I think it had some real like full on moments. Like especially when the bird of prey decloaks and Kirk is just like fire. He's like blow those motherfuckers out of the air.
That thing's gotta have a tailpipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that. Oh, but I'm not. I'll talk about the Undiscovered Country a little bit later because I rank it way higher than number seven. But I'm gonna let you go on because your number six is my number five, which is the J.J. Abrams, the first reboot, I believe.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yes, that was really surprising for me because, you know, like I was pretty much done with Star Trek. And I don't know, I just heard it was out. I was living in China at the time, and so I just downloaded it. And I ran into this guy at a bar, and I was like, dude, Vulcan got swallowed by a black hole. Holy fuck. And yeah, we kind of bonded over that moment.
You bonded over a black hole.
Yeah, but the thing was, it's like, okay, like you want more Star Trek. Of course you do.
Yes.
Because Star Trek is awesome.
Yes.
But like, how are they going to explain this? And they totally did. It's like, well, it's an alternate universe.
Hmm.
Somebody came back in time and it changed the timeline, and now everything's different. So we still have the same movies, but it's a different timeline, and you're just gonna have to deal with that. And
Hmm.
I was like, cool.
No, it's a cool movie, man. Star Trek Beyond. Oh, sorry, Star Trek 2009. I was here in Brazil. It was actually my first year in Brazil, and I remember I took somebody on a date to watch it, and this person didn't necessarily like it, and then I kicked this person to the curb, and I'm pretty sure because of this, I was convinced that this dude, it was a dude, he did like some voodoo on me because of it. I'm not kidding. It was weird. It was a strange time. But anyway, I remember going to the theater, watching it here in Brazil. Maybe one of the first movies I saw in Brazil. So it was my first theater experience in Brazil, and I loved it. I just fell in love with it. I said, "This is so cool," because this modernized Trek, yet it's got a link to the original Trek, obviously with
Yeah,
Leonard Nimoy in there.
yeah,
Yeah, is it maybe a little too action in parts? Could be, but I think Nimoy was able to ground it. I
yeah,
think he
yeah.
he gave us those Trek moments that
It was almost like The Simpsons. When Leonard Nimoy is in The Simpsons.
I don't think I've seen that episode. I don't know. I gotta check that out.
Really,
Yeah.
it's also with X Files. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, the X
Leonard
Files ones
Nimoy
I've
and the
seen.
X
Yeah.
Files together in The Simpsons.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it grounds it in it. Because the thing is, you got to look at with Trek, and I mean, this is for the producers of Trek, I think, not just me speaking. They are always fighting this two-way battle, which is how to get a mass audience, but also you gotta please the Trek fans.
exactly.
Because if you do stuff, it's like I'm sure Star Wars has those moments
Ah,
where,
you
like,
can't please Star Wars fans.
okay, but I think every fandom has you got to have that moment that's just fan service moments, and if you don't put them in there, in it, the fans are just gonna be upset. I mean, you got it's like you're gonna go see fucking I don't know Metallica or something or whatever. They got to do that one song,
Right,
like it or
right.
not. You
Yeah,
got to play
yeah.
whatever that song
Seek and
is,
destroy.
and and if you don't, fans are gonna come away upset, and so any franchise, whether it's James Bond or Star Wars or Star Trek, you gotta have those moments. And I think for Trek fans, it's always gotta be like that humanistic moment where, like, okay, we're having a human debate, or a human conversation. So when Kirk meets Spock in that cave, which, by the way, speaking of Star Wars, totally like felt like Star Wars there with the ice
Right.
planet and the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah.
I'm like,
The monster.
anyway. Uh, but you had those moments where Nimoy was telling Kirk about who he was, what their relationship meant, uh, and yeah, those are the moments you live for as a Trek fan. You're like,
What I liked about this movie was the fact that like if you grew up watching only the original series, which I
yes,
did, you wonder how the fuck a guy like Kirk became a captain.
yes,
Because he's like really immature. He's younger than everybody on the crew.
yeah,
Like how the fuck did he come into this position?
yeah,
And the movie kind of like makes an effort to explain this.
yeah. I
It's
like that
like
too.
everyone else died. That's how he became the captain.
Yeah, no, but I like that too. Is that, they gave a good explanation of that, a nice explanation of his character. Just why is he so angry? Why is he so um, kind of like a maverick? I think and that's where I get upset with Into Darkness because I think Beyond, I keep saying Beyond, 2009 did a good job at that. And Into Darkness or whatever the sequel might have been should have already established or tried to establish Kirk more as the because as much as you say, okay, he's reckless, but he's really not. He's a little out there. He's a maverick, but he's the best guy you want commanding that ship. He's gonna listen to everybody. He's gonna make the best choice. He's gonna, he's gonna make sure you get home. He's a little wild, but he likes his green women. But but the sequel should have already started there. Like where he was in Beyond is where I think he should have been in Into Darkness. But I like everything pretty much about Star Trek 2009, except for, and we're gonna get into a little discussion in a minute, except for the bad guy. I hate Nero. Just the way he talks, everything about him. You, you guys, I can't believe the Romulan was destroyed, and I'm gonna hurt you. He talks like a little crybaby from I don't know.
Right.
So I'm not a
Yeah.
huge fan of Nero, the bad guy.
Not terribly threatening, but one thing I really liked
His
about
shit
this
is
movie
threatening.
was the relationship between Spock and Kirk,
Yes.
because how it completely flipped the narrative of their relationship.
Yeah.
Because like how they get to know each other is because Kirk cheats on the test.
Yes.
And it turns out, and we didn't know this before, but it turns out Spock designed the test, and that's his big issue. He's like, motherfucker.
I'm gonna flash the nerd card. I'm gonna flash the nerd card because we did know that Spock designed the test.
Really?
Yes, that's in Star Trek Wrath of Khan, I believe. That's when they explain it because yeah, but we definitely know he designed it. Right. Go ahead.
No, it's just an interesting backstory to the relation, because when Kirk meets the original Spock on the frozen planet, and he's like, "I have always been, and I will always be your friend."
Oh, I
he's
love
like,
it.
He's like, "Really?"
See, those are the moments, yeah, and those are the moments Trek fans live for. I mean, like when once Trek series, especially like that's when you get, and I'm sure you get those in Star Wars too, when it references itself,
Yeah.
but in a good way, not like in.
Yeah.
I keep going back
Dude.
into Darkness.
Dude,
Because it was so gratuitous.
that is Rogue One. When
Yeah.
uh, Grand Moff Tarkin
Mhm.
is like, "You may fire when ready." I was like, "Oh my god, I'm turning into a liquid pile of goo."
Yeah, no, stuff like that is cool. But it's gotta be organic, not
Yeah.
forced.
Yeah.
Okay. Like we all know these lines. So from before now you're just gonna force feed them to us. Like we already watched 6 of these movies. You don't need to force feed us lines from them. But if it comes like with that conversation, it was a very organic conversation. And then when they met Scotty for the first time, 2009, F the haters, F well, I shouldn't say that. Okay. I disagree with the gatekeeper Star Trek fans who really hate all the J.J. Abrams movie, including this one, because it's not really Trek and it's too much special effects. This movie's fun as hell, man.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
And the only thing wrong with it, like I said, is Nero just comes off as really annoying. That ship that he has is ridiculous where they're jumping, like you gotta jump from level down, level up. I mean, this is supposed to be futuristic, but it seems like really less practical than, I mean, I imagine in the future they would be more practical. You'd have ships where maybe holographically I could go from one deck to another instead of like having to jump. And when they had Pike they had him captured and there was like water, or like I still don't get that. Like, why is there a bunch of water in this where they got him tied up? Just kind of a lot of aesthetic stuff with that ship that doesn't make sense. And even like Spock being able to see his own planet blow up from a different planet, like how does that work exactly? And because I mean the closest planet to us is Venus, and I mean, that's like a little
Yeah.
speck in the sky, or
Well,
like
actually, you
Mars.
can see it. You
No, you
can
can
see
see
it.
it, but not like we see the moon.
Right.
In the movie, like Spock is actually watching a big ass version of his
Yeah,
planet.
he's dropped off there
Yeah,
specifically to watch his planet blow up.
yeah. And it's like, wait, how close is that planet? So there's like stuff that doesn't make sense. But I dig it. I dig it a lot. And I thought Spock should have been done. I don't like that they shoehorned him into darkness at the last minute.
I think it made sense though, because I mean, like, if you're a Trek fan, and I'm not even,
Yeah.
but you want to see a connection between these movies.
But the connection's already there. Because they forced a connection. They force fed us Khan again when you didn't need
Right.
to. You know,
But that was
so
the second movie.
yeah, that was the second movie. The first one's awesome. The first one, okay, because
But
Spock actually,
the first movie basically stated, okay, we're telling the Star Trek story over again, but it's an alternate reality.
yes.
So the other stuff still happened. It's okay.
No, it's
It's
still
okay.
no. I
No need to
know.
get upset.
I know. It was just like, come on, wasted opportunity. I mean, they made a lot of money, so I guess it wasn't a wasted opportunity for them. But anyway, uh, let's move on to your number five, and I believe it has to do with whales.
Oh yes, yes. Nuclear vessels. Take us to the nuclear vessels.
We're getting to the good ones, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
By
yeah.
the way, you said that what's your cutoff line? Insurrection up are the ones that you consider really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I'd start at 2009. So my five and up are the ones that I consider like, wow, 3 to 4 star. Everything else is like, if you're not a fan, you may not like it. But go ahead.
All right. So yeah, part four. What was it? The journey home.
The Voyage Home.
The voyage home, which I believe I have listed as whales and shit.
Yes. A lot of whales in this movie.
Yeah.
No, two whales, but a lot of whale talk.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just like such a departure. It was such a sense of humor. First of all, like there's a lot of communism in this movie. the, they're trying to take the bus, I believe, and Nimoy is like they still use money in the 21st century. How
Yes.
primitive. It's like,
Yeah.
well, what the fuck, motherfucker? Did you come up with a better idea?
Yeah. Well, that's an issue with Trek. Do they use money or not?
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
It contradicts itself constantly. I mean, Picard gives that big speech about in First Contact about in the future we don't value monetary gain and blah 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 blah, but they use money in the future.
Yeah.
Definitely do. Because they have a bunch of lines where like you don't know how much this costs or how much we've been. Because even in Wrath of Khan, they had like they were talking about how much Starfleet spent on that little science station that Carol was on.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry. I digress.
No, it's fine. It's just like okay. The appeal of this movie is mostly like taking the Star Trek cast out of their element, completely out of their element, and putting them in. It seems weird now because it was 1987, and now it's like it's actually putting them in the past.
Yeah, yeah.
It doesn't actually resonate anymore. But at the time, when it was 1987,
Mm-hmm.
seeing the Star Trek cast in that environment, it was totally a riot. Now it's like it's looking at the Star Trek cast being put in the past, which is fucking bizarre.
Yeah, because you're used to that when they actually go to like the past, like when they're like in there's a TOS episode where they go to like the gangster times or like the or when they go to like Agent Rome or something. Like they've time traveled before. Yesterday's
they didn't even make a big deal of it when they were trying to go back to Earth. That's how the whole premise of the movie starts.
Yes.
Kirk is like, okay, like we're trying to come home, and Starfleet is like, yeah, no, we got a bit of a problem here with what appears to be whale signals. And
Yeah, yeah.
Kirk is just like, well, we'll just go back in time and we'll change that. No problem.
Man, there that Star Trek and time travel. I mean, there's so much time travel that happens in Star Trek, and it's so loosey goosey. I
They didn't
guess.
even explain it. Like Kirk's like, yeah, we'll go back in time and change that. No problem.
Yeah,
It's like, holy fuck, dude. Like, could we have some explanation as how
yeah.
is it possible for this to happen?
How does time travel actually work on Star Trek? I never know. I know that, and I haven't gotten into it yet. Which is the what do you call it? Trying to find my. I guess it's this one right here. Is that there? You go. Star Trek: The Voyage Home.
Yes.
Uh, Star Trek Enterprise. And this is a show I never watched, and I'm only starting to watch now. I think season 3 or 4, they get into something called the Temporal Code War. And it deals with this because Star Trek does play fast and loose with time travel, even in Star Trek Voyager. There's actually a really good Star Trek Voyager episode. I think it's the start of season 5 or something where they travel back to the 90s, and it's actually really cool. Uh, I think the only show that didn't do a lot of time travel was TNG. Although they have
Mm.
yesterday's Enterprise, which is awesome. It's like an
Yeah, yeah.
alternate universe.
Their time travel
Oh no,
episodes
they
were
did, they did, they did.
they were always
I forgot.
the fucking
They went to like the Victorian
danger
era.
room version.
Yeah. Oh, the no, you're talking about the holodeck.
Yes, the
The
holodeck. Yeah,
danger room.
the sorry, that's an X-Men reference.
That's funny though, because it is a dangerous room. Because that shit never works. It malfunctions constantly, and they relied on that holodeck for like, oh man, way too much. There's a big chunk of Star Trek fans that hate the holodeck. Trust me, because it's such a plot contrivance. Like, okay, we got nothing to do this week. Let's do a Shakespeare or not a Shakespeare, a Sherlock Holmes mystery. So it's like when they didn't have a a gas cloud that wanted to kill them. It was like a malfunctioning holodeck program that wanted to kill them. It's like, again, not a place for children. That's the bottom line with TNG. Anyway, but I forgot that TNG they actually did have a few time travel ones outside of the actual holodeck. But yeah, Trek does a lot of time travel. Actually, if you count it, what you have First Contact is a time travel movie. The Voyage Home is a time travel movie. 2009 is not time travel, but it deals with kind of an
It
alternate
is a time
universe.
travel movie.
Well, yeah, but
Dude,
they're in a parallel
that dude comes
universe.
from the future.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Even though it's a parallel universe time travel. Genesis sort of has time travel too, right? Because Kirk's stuck inside the Nexus, and so he more or less time traveled. I mean, if he had gotten his ass out of there, he would have been in the future.
Right.
So Trek deals a lot with time travel. Um, I have the Voyage Home. You have it at number 5, so I'm gonna hold off on it, and I'm gonna go into my number 4 movie. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna go to my number 4 movie. Number 4 may shock some Star Trek fans, because you guys probably will all rank it as number 1. You mega Trekkers out there, Trekkers or Trekkies, by the way. When you grew up, was there much of a difference? Trekkers or Trekkies?
Um, yeah, there was actually. I never became a super fan, so I was more of a Trekker than a Trekkie.
See, and a lot of people say that a Trekker is more than a Trekkie, and I think Trekkie came out first, and then some of the Trekkies felt that it sounded too geeky to be called a Trekkie, so they decided to be called a Trekker. But I think Trekker sounds so stupid because a Trekker is like somebody that goes on a long hike. So I don't get it. But DC, I'm giving you the inside scoop on all the fandom, what goes on
Right.
in the groups. So there's
Right.
a lot of debates about is Picard or Kirk? Is Star Trek a communist show or not?
Yeah. It totally is.
And is and of course Trekkie or Trekker. I'm Trekkie, but that came out. That was first. That was before. But guys, that are listening, by the way, thank you. There's a long podcast. We're hitting the 2 hour, 2.5 hour mark. Actually, past the 2.5 hour mark. And number one is the Wrath of fucking Khan. And I may,
God.
yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna have a lot of people angry with me or a lot of
I don't
Trekkies
think
and
so.
Trekkers.
I don't
No,
think so.
trust me, because this is like the Empire Strikes Back of
Yeah, but
Trek
everyone
fans.
loves the Empire Strikes Back.
That's what I'm saying. They're gonna be upset that I put it at number four.
Oh, okay.
It trust like you ask 90%, 99% of Star Trek fans, what's the best Star Trek movie? Wrath of Khan,
It
Wrath of
is.
Khan,
It is
Wrath of Khan.
good. It is
No, and
good.
it's a really good movie. I actually ended up liking it a little bit more recently, but I think it actually went down on my ranking. From 2016, I had Star Trek The Wrath of Khan at number three, and now it's at number four. It flipped
Oh wow.
places with the whale movie.
The
uh,
whale movie is good though. You
uh,
can't fault the whale movie.
but yeah, Wrath of Khan. I, growing up, man, I never really liked this movie. It took me like maybe just a few
Ah.
years ago before I really started liking it a little bit more because it is a mature movie. It's about revenge. It's about kind of realizing maybe you're too old,
And
maybe
it
you're
tied
trying.
into the TV series too. That was an
Yeah,
important
no,
tie.
that part definitely Space Seed. So
Yeah.
you have Khan, which showed up in Space Seed, and Ricardo Montalban is awesome in it,
Yeah.
just hamming it up
Yeah.
completely, but I mean in the best way possible. But I guess what I didn't get about this movie as a kid is the mature themes, because it's about are we too old already? It already began from there because I mean Star Trek
Right.
6 really drives it home of
Yeah.
like maybe we are too old for this. Maybe uh, we're from a generation that can't understand what's coming next, but this is the beginning of it. This is the genesis of it. I think there's a great scene where McCoy gives Kirk a pair of glasses and all this stuff, and he's feeling old. He's like, we're past our time. And as a kid, maybe you don't exactly understand that, right? But as an adult, stuff like that starts to make sense a little bit more. So I appreciated the movie a little bit later in life, but I still think, I mean, as much as I love Montalban, I hate the fact I hate that last space battle. I just can't get over that last space battle where they're stuck in the nebula. And it's this slow motion space battle inside the nebula where one ship can't see the other. And then the whole twist at the end is that Spock is like, he's a great tactician, but he uses a lot of two-dimensional thinking because obviously he's from our century, so he doesn't have
Right.
this idea of three-dimensional space. So the Enterprise actually comes up over Khan's ship and is able to destroy it like that. But I'm like, it's a letdown if you compare it to the other space battles from the TOS movies, where we talked a little bit about even in Search for Spock, where they trick the Klingons into beaming on and
Hmm.
blow up the ship. Star Trek 6, where the ship is cloaked, but they figure out some way to like realize, hey,
Fire.
it's leaving. It's. I mean, every ship leaves a trace of something. Uh, so comparing it to those, it's kind of anticlimactic. From hell's heart I stab at thee, and all this
Ah,
stuff.
yeah.
And
But that is a brilliant scene. I love
no, it's
that scene.
great. It's a wonderful scene, but it it's a letdown for me because Khan had a bunch of times where he could have killed Kirk And Kirk is like, but like a poor, not you've killed this person, you've killed that person, you've killed everybody else, but like a poor marksman, you keep missing your mark. Come get me, Khan. Come get me. No, I mean, not much to fault in this movie. But except for that, I do not
Yeah.
like the last battle, but it's only a bridge to one of the greatest scenes in Star Trek history, which is the death of Spock.
Right.
Where
Yeah.
Spock,
I have been. I will always be your friend.
yes, and him going in there
Yeah.
and kind of aligning
And
the.
that was what I liked about Into Darkness, how they reversed that.
Oh, screw Into Darkness.
Okay. Okay.
No, they reversed it. I mean, it was cute. That's the thing. It's so surface level though, because man, compare the weight. Even now, we all know Spock is not dead.
Right.
But even when still watching it, you're just like, fuck. I mean, he did that shit. He
The needs
actually,
of the many outweigh the
yeah,
needs of the
like he
few.
gave, and you can feel it in Kirk's being.
Yeah.
That wow, he lost his best friend. Spock and Kirk hated each other just one movie ago in the reboot, and you're
Yeah.
still not sure how close they are in this movie because, uh, of what you said. Spock kind of told on him and all this stuff, and I guess the character arc for Spock is he realizes how much Kirk means to him, but he's alive in like 10 minutes, like 2 minutes later. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm
Give
sorry.
me Khan's blood. Give
Yeah,
me Khan's blood. It'll be fine.
it was like, come on. I mean, it was cute. It's cute. It's not that it's horrible, but if you just, it's like you're getting a symphony by like I don't know Beethoven, and then you're just doing it. But then you have the disco version of Beethoven's Fifth. It's like I enjoy that. I love Beethoven's Fifth, the disco song. It's nice to dance to, but you can't compare it to the fucking original. Yeah, but whatever. So I got that at number 4, and you have this one here, Generations, at number 4. So tell me why you like Generations so much, because I had it at 13.
All right. We already talked about generations,
Yes.
so I won't spend much time on it. I'll just say that seeing Kirk and Picard together totally
Yes.
gave me a Woody.
That's a good reason to like Generations. Yeah, whether you're a Trekkie or not, I mean, these are pop culture icons on the same screen, and watching just Picard getting his ass beat, and Kirk with his like karate chop. I love it.
Yeah.
Like it's so cheesy. Like they have the one scene
And
where the camera angle is literally it's just to like his fist. It's so old school.
and it has one of my favorite lines ever too. When Picard is like basically begging Kirk to help him. He's like come on, dude, I need you.
Yeah.
And Kirk is like, I assume the odds are against us. I assume they're impossible.
Yeah.
And Picard is like, well, yeah. And he's like, all right, I'm in.
Yes.
And for that was everything. The rest of the movie could have been nothing, which it was actually. I mean, it was basically about a dude who was trying to alter the trajectory of a lethal planet destroying blast or whatever the fuck it
What does it
was.
say? I'm trying to get the exact quote here. I can't believe they don't have that one out of all of them. I'm looking on the wiki here. They do have this one where he gives. Oh, there it is. Um, I take the odds are against us, and the situation is grim.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes, and Picard's like, you could say that. If Spock were here, he'd say it was an irrational, illogical human being for going on a mission like that. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is it. This is the end. Oh, when Kirk dies, his dialogue is terrible. Did we make a difference? Oh, yes, we made a difference. Thank you. Least I could do for the captain of the Enterprise. It was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
But
Oh, come on.
this movie was adorable for two reasons. First of all, Picard and Kirk acting together was amazing, and they did actually like they made a difference. They were a team, which is really awesome. The other thing is, hmm, I think I forget what the other thing is.
Uh, boobs.
Um,
Shiroi, you said she looked really hot in this one.
no, no, she looked hot in all the movies.
I agree.
No, I think it was actually that it it kind of well, it took it to the next generation basically.
Yeah. No, I mean it's okay. It was the very first movie I saw on the big screen, so it does have a special place in my heart. Um, but
Mm, I remember the other thing that makes it awesome. It was the first movie where the Enterprise got totally fucking wrecked. Well, no, it
yes,
was the second actually because we got wrecked in the third. But still, yeah, the
no, but I
Enterprise got
mean,
wrecked again.
but it didn't get wrecked in the same way. I mean, that was the first. I mean, it got blown up in Star Trek 3, but it was
Yeah,
quick.
it was self destruction.
Yeah,
This is
but
where it crashed and burned.
yeah, like I remember watching this in the movie theater and just being like, "What the fuck did I just see?" That was awesome. You can't take that away from Star Trek Generations. No, I got a lot of special feelings for it, but the further away I get, like in from an emotional aspect, when I think of this movie and just kind of think of it like, does this movie work as a movie? Like the less I like it. So that's why it's gone to number one. I mean, sorry, it got moved down to number 13. And before, last time I did a rewatch, I believe I had it ranked kind of high. Let me see. It was behind Insurrection. There it is. I had it at number 8. So it
Oh
definitely
well.
dropped a lot. Yeah, but pretty much same thing as you. Like, it's not a perfect movie, but it has two wow moments. One is the Enterprise D crashing, and the other one is Captain Picard meets Captain Kirk. But aside from this, I feel it lacks direction and pacing. Yeah, it's super. The pacing is horrible in this movie. It's slow, it's fast, it's slow, it's Christmas scene.
It's got Malcolm McDowell as a bad guy though, man.
I know, but still. But he was a bad character. All right. We're almost to the end, guys. We're in our top three. So these are the creme de la creme. Um, but before we do that, let's just have like a quick rundown because we got a lot of movies. Let's see if we can do this quickly. I'm gonna give you a bad guy, a villain, and you're just gonna give me from a 1 to 10. Okay, what you think of this bad guy? Then we're gonna see who wins here. Who is the ultimate villain in these movies? The V'ger probe from the motion picture.
Ugh,
0.
0.
I give it a 1. Just because it kind of caught me by surprise that it was Voyager. Uh, Khan, but the original Khan,
10.
10. Yeah, I gotta give him. I'll give him a. I'll give it a 10. All right, go. Crude,
Mm,
Christopher Lloyd,
yeah, probably a 6.
6. I'll give Crude. I'm with you, 6. The space turd, as I like to call it, from the voyage home.
Oh, come on, man. That's not even a villain in that movie.
Oh, he's destroying everything. He wants to talk to the whales.
Yeah, but he's not really a villain.
I'll give it a 2.
Um, I
Or mankind. Would you prefer mankind to be the
yes,
villain?
mankind. Let's give mankind a 5.
Yeah. Cyborg, the laughing Vulcan.
Also a 5.
I give him a 7, man. I really like Cyborg. I'm in a super minority, even among fans. Um, Chang.
Uh, 7 probably.
Oh man, I give him a 10. Actually, I'm gonna just because I want to win.
Wait a minute.
I'm
That's
gonna
part
take
6, right?
yes.
Yeah, cry havoc. Let's
Yeah,
strip the
yeah, yeah,
dogs of war. Yeah, fuck 10.
yeah,
10.
yeah. Because I think I'm gonna give Khan a 9 instead of a 10. I mean, it's so tough. Nah, I give him a 10. Let me see. Soran from Generations. We're just talking about McDowell.
Right.
I
A
don't like him.
9. A 9.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. I give him a 4.
Dude, he put planets in the path of destruction just to save his own ass.
Yeah.
He's pretty evil.
Let me see. The Borg Queen. That's
Oh,
automatic
she's
10.
a 10. She's a
Automatic
10.
10. Automatic 10. Ruafo from Insurrection.
Uh,
Amadeus.
she's 8 actually.
Yeah, he was not bad. I give him a 7. I mean, it's a little too campy for me in a bad way.
Yeah, well,
I like camp, but I don't think he played it off that well. Tom Hardy in space.
honestly, as much as I love Tom Hardy, I gotta go as low as 7.
Yeah, I give him like a 6. He came off way too like needy or something. I don't
He
know.
was too skinny, man.
Nero. Oh, I hate Nero with a passion. I give him a 1.
Really?
Yes. From this is from Star Trek 2009. Future Romulan. Hey, hi, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm gonna hit you. And I'm gonna
I
do
would
all
give
these
him.
terrible
I would
things.
give him a 6.
Oh,
I'd give him a
I did
6.
not like him at all. Khan 2.0.
Actually, that's probably about a 9. Benedict Cumberbatch, come on, man, that guy's fucking
I
awesome.
give him a 5. We
Really?
already got Khan.
Wow.
And Crawl from Star Trek Beyond. Played
Ah,
by Idris Elba.
yes, yes,
Behind all that makeup.
yes. I know. I didn't realize that until later, and that was actually after The Wire too. I don't know how it took me so long to recognize him.
Oh, he's under a lot of prosthetics.
Yeah, I don't know. Ah, the character, I don't think was bad. I think honestly, as much as I love Idris Elba, I don't think his performance was that good. Um, I think it's probably about a 5.
Yeah, it was kind of forgettable. I gave him a 4. So, of that, I mean, this is difficult because I thought we would be able to have a better way to add these up, but we got 2020. Khan, Shang, and the Borg Queen. I don't know. How do we break this three-way tie? Should we break this three-way tie? Well, one thing's for sure: the original series movies had two better um, bad guys. Who would you least want to meet out in the coldness of space? Uh, a revenge-seeking Khan, a Shakespearean, a Shakespeare quoting Klingon, or a kind of sexy, not so sexy fembot.
I would totally go for the Borg Queen just because, like, at least she might fuck me before I die.
Oh well, you might lose something. You might lose a few things in that fucking. But anyway, all right. So those are our top three best villains, and of course, anytime there's a space probe involved, it's probably not gonna mean exciting villains. So now you're at number three. So yeah, you got Khan at number three. So go ahead, tell us what are your best memories from Star Trek Two: The
All right.
Wrath of Khan.
I
The
really,
Wrath.
I really have to go to the bathroom, but I'm going to stick around to tell you this story
Yes.
because I mentioned I saw Star Trek the motion picture in the theaters, and I was traumatized by how horrible it was.
Yeah.
And my mother told me that a dad in the neighborhood was taking all the kids to see the new Star Trek movie, and I was like, "Mom, I don't want to go see the Star Trek anymore." It's like, I know, I like the series, but I don't want to go see any more Star Trek. Please don't let me go. And she was like, "No, I've heard this one is better."
Mm.
And I went and I was like, wow, holy fuck, man, this is the shit. This is actually the shit.
Yes.
So yeah, I was totally down with it. Right from when they stick that cockroach in Chekhov's ear, that was nasty, man.
Yes. Yes. What's the exact name of that cockroach? It's the wait. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I was just like, okay, I was reborn in terms of Star Trek. I was like, because after the first one, I was like, I'm never watching any of these movies again. And first of all, I couldn't believe they even made a second movie. After the first one, like, how the fuck did a second movie even get made?
Well, this is where you have to thank Nicholas Meyer and Harv Bennett. They saved Star Trek. I mean, they just rebooted it. I mean, speaking of reboots, Star Trek 2 is an absolute reboot of the entire series. You know, I
Right.
mean, it just it looks militaristic. It's a SETI EO.
It's
That's what
still
it
pretty
is.
cheap though. Like
It's still cheap, yeah.
if you look at it, it's actually like it's not Star Wars.
No, definitely. But it looks good. You know,
Yeah,
like the color
it's
scheme,
okay. It's okay.
the the. I mean, they just focused on these characters. They just made it. I think what makes it work, especially if you're going into the 1980s, there were a lot of like these military movies,
Right.
submarine type warfare movies, and they just took that style, which doesn't need a lot of flash. I mean, you're stuck underwater in a submarine, and they just transferred it to space. So you don't. When they did external shots, yeah, okay. Sometimes they haven't aged very well, but the inside shots, the bridge, that's just straight out of take whatever submarine movie from
Hmm.
that time or even after, Hunt for Red October or whatever, and that's what these movies became. So I think that's how they got around needing to look like Star Wars or 2001 or any
Yeah.
of these other
Well,
movies.
Star Trek shouldn't be Star Wars. Like they're both their own unique thing,
Yeah,
and and I think that movie is where Star Trek found its identity.
in the
Yeah.
movies, yes, because it's a different, and you have Trek fans that debate this, where they say it's as almost as if the Trek movies are in a different universe, because if
Yeah.
you compare the Trek movies with the TOS cast to the original show, it's a totally different, I mean, way of how they act. Well, not totally different, but it's different enough where you're like, whoa, what happened to Starfleet? And I think that's something interesting. That's something that Harv Bennett and Nicholas Meyer, they were able to kick, Gene Roddenberry aside a little bit, and they added those dark elements. Hey, Trek is Starfleet a peace-seeking organization or not? Because you even have that debate in this movie where they're on a science station and the sun is totally against Starfleet. He's like, I knew they were going to use this Genesis device for
Hmm.
militaristic things, and why did they want to? Because remember, they didn't know at first that it was Khan that had taken the ship. And so they thought that a Starfleet vessel was going there to take their Genesis device, and they're really angry about this. And Kirk, that overgrown cowboy, no, the Boy Scout or something that he used to hang out with, uh, and she's like, Kirk was a lot of things, but he was never a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
So already there you get those elements that you were talking about into darkness, where they have, Starfleet has a very dark side too. Those seeds were planted right there in Star Trek 2, which goes all the way up to Star Trek 6, where you see there's a whole bunch of
The
people in.
Klingon peace prospect. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch
And
of
the
people.
traitor in that movie was so fucking obvious, man.
No, but it wasn't just her. It was a bunch of admirals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Admiral Cartwright, I think is his name. There's like a whole bunch of
Yeah, it's a
admirals.
huge conspiracy.
Yeah, so it's cool where you see, hey, Starfleet isn't this fucking utopia out in space. There are people that are for probably have more peace and love. And then there's people that are like, hey, we could take over the fucking world. And it's a great reflection of how probably the world saw America at the time, where they're like, okay, I'm sure there are Americans that want to genuinely spread goodwill and be like, hey, man, we just want to chill. And then there's the Americans that are like, yeah, we need your oil, we need your women, we need your tacos, you know. And so it's cool where you get those two sides, you know,
Right.
in which before they never explored that before in Star Trek that I know of. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. So I know Gene was totally against it, but the studios are just like, shut up. You know, it was kind of like when George sold his rights to Star Wars to Disney, and then he kept going in there to give some a story concept ideas. But they
Yeah,
were like, "Yeah, George, yeah, good, yeah, George, oh yeah, yeah, yeah," and then they used nothing.
yeah,
That's kind of like how they treated Gene Roddenberry for a long time, which is the reason why he ended up creating the Next Generation.
right.
Because the Next Generation is 100%, at least for the first couple seasons, Gene's baby. Like you can see him in every aspect of the first season. Big loving family. Starfleet is your big.
Not big loving family. He hates the kids.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. He hates the kids, but the kids are there at the same time. But it's a big loving family in terms of like he wants to show Starfleet as this great,
A
peaceful,
utopian vision.
utopian where
Yeah,
everybody's working together on this starship without any
for sure.
conflict, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, come on, that's fucking boring. Uh,
All right,
Run
dude.
to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and while you're there, I will give important announcements. And the important announcement is this: if you've made it this far into this podcast, you're fucking awesome. It's 1:17 in the morning here in Brazil. I do have to get up in about 6 hours, and we should have split this into two podcasts. But now we're so far into it that I can't really stop, right? Because we have just like three more movies to go. So he gave his number three movie. I'm gonna go into The Voyage Home. And why do I love The Voyage Home? Um, well, wait till he comes back. But anyway, um, like and subscribe, please. That's very important. Enjoy other things on our channel. We rank a lot of movies. We just did a Rambo ranking. I'm gonna talk. We're gonna do Star Wars very shortly, and we are going to do possibly. I'm gonna try to get him to do like a Rocky one. But if you have any franchises that you want us to rank and drink a lot of beer and talk about, then do it. If you want to contribute to the channel, which will help us buy beer, there will be a link at the bottom where you can contribute, and we thank you for that because it does require time and a little bit of work to do these movies reviews. And as you can tell by my voice, I think I've drunk a little bit too much. Oh my god, tomorrow's gonna suck. Good thing is I only work in the morning till about 9:30 a.m. and then I get to go back to bed until the evening. My life is kind of cool in that sense, because I work at a high school and the high school is they're on vacation. So anyway, my number three movie is actually my introduction to Star Trek as far as with the movies, as far as the movies are concerned, and it's Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, the movie about whales, a lot of whales, and um, Give me a second here. Uh-oh. Watch yourself. Don't move. Well, now you moved.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Here we go. Getting to the end here. Top three. We're back to
All
Star Trek
right.
4.
Getting me to the end.
It's the 3 hour mark. This is crazy. We've been well, but we'll get this.
That's 15 movies. 3
Yes.
hours is not unreasonable,
Yes.
actually.
So we go. We have Star Trek The Voyage Home. Now you keep saying that Star Trek 6 is my introduction to Star Trek in the movies, but it really isn't. The Voyage
Really?
Home. Now I watched the series growing up, but The Voyage Home was the first one. I remember I was maybe 10 or 11 and I would go to the public library. And this was the 80s, maybe 89,
87.
80. No, I'm saying like when I was doing this. So maybe around 89, 1990. And so we'd go to the public library and rent movies in the public library. And I remember I was part of the eco club at school. So whales were big. And a
Really?
lot of people
I grew
credit
up
this
in a
movie.
whale town.
Yeah, and a lot of people credit this movie for, I mean, on a serious level, for getting people interested in this and really saving a lot of humpback whales. I remember I went whale watching after watching this movie.
Yeah.
So, and I got a T-shirt. I said, "There she blows" when we saw some whales in Cape May, New Jersey. But anyway, yeah. So it does hold a special place in my heart because of that. It had flipped, but I flipped it. I had it before at number 4 before, and I flipped it with Wrath of Khan. I put it in my top 3. It's the movie that if you have a friend that's never watched any Star Trek movie before, it's probably the easiest one for them to get into.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
watch
so
the fucking
humorous.
whale movie.
It's funny.
Yeah, well, it works on a lot of levels, and it's funny
Well,
for actually
you
being
know
funny.
what? One of my favorite scenes is when they give away the technology to that engineer,
Yes, yes,
and
Scotty.
Scotty is like, "How do we know he didn't invent the fucking thing?"
Yes. Or when he's trying to talk to the computer and then he holds up the mouse. Computer, computer. Or no, there's so many great scenes when McCoy goes into the hospital. It's like the Dark Ages. What are you? No, man. What are you doing? You know, you're gonna drill a hole in his head. There's so many good scenes, and you get to have the whole cast doing something, which is
Yeah,
awesome.
that was actually, and I think that's Leonard Nimoy's work because he was the director of that movie, and
Yeah.
and he really like gave the entire cast a
I
chance to
think actually he
shine.
might have even written it, if I'm not mistaken. Well, maybe not written the script, but Star Trek, The Voyage Home. Let's see who they have on writing credits here, but I'm almost certain some of the concept for it has, yeah, director, screenplay. Oh no, Nicholas Meyer, Harv Bennett, which we just talked about. But the story, we got Leonard Nimoy had the story concept, and then they did the story by Harv Bennett and Leonard Nimoy, and then they wrote the screenplay. So yeah, I mean, I actually know a few Trek fans that don't like this movie because it is a little too
Really?
silly,
Yeah,
and
okay, I can see that actually.
but I have fun with it every single time I watch it. Like with the scene in the
No,
bus
dude,
with
when
the
I
punk
watched it, I
rocker.
laughed my fucking ass off.
Double
And
dumbass on you. Well, double
yeah,
dumbass on you. Or when he's
where
Spock's in the
where are your
bus.
nuclear vessels? Where are your nuclear
Yeah, in the
vessels?
middle of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Got this Russian guy asking a cop where the nuclear vessels are. And then when Spock is in the bus and the punk rocker is listening, it reminds me of here in Sao Paulo when motherfuckers got their. Although they stopped doing that more. I guess they got hip to how rude that is. Early in the morning they got their radio blasted here in the train, and then Spock giving the Vulcan nerve pinch. The guy, in the colorful metaphors and Spock trying to church,
Yeah.
trying to curse.
These people are so primitive. They
Yes.
still use money.
Yes. No. It's a great Star Trek movie. And unfortunately, it led to them thinking that comedy was the way to go for the
Yeah,
final
they took
frontier.
it a little too far.
Yeah, because the difference is that here the comedy is not at the expense of the characters. I mean,
Well,
there's
no,
still
the comedy was the characters being taken out of their element.
yeah, but there's still the awesome
They're
characters.
they're
Like
still
Scotty
themselves.
is
Yeah.
still a fucking genius.
How do we know he
McCoy,
didn't invent the fucking thing?
yeah, and McCoy is still like a great doctor, and
Yeah.
everybody's great at their job. They're just outside of their element, which makes it funny. Whereas in Star Trek Five, everybody becomes an idiot, and it's like and you're like, well, what happened? And then they all
Yeah.
get like hypnotized by the smiling Vulcan, or the laughing Vulcan. So we give, yeah, we both kind of gave. You had it at number five. I have it at number three. So
Did
now,
I only have it at number five? Really?
no, you. I just say you had it at number five, but you're gonna tell us what your number two is, which is
Into Darkness.
yes,
Yes, Into Darkness. Well, I don't think we need to talk about that much because we've already
yeah, we
talked
kind
about it.
of covered it more or less.
Yeah, but I will say that I liked it because it put a different spin on. Basically, it took the best Star Trek story that has ever been told, and it put a different spin on it,
Hmm.
and it was enjoyable. So yeah,
All right, that was short and sweet.
yeah. I don't have much more because we've already talked about it.
All
So
right, so let's go then to my number two, which also ends up on a lot of people's top, on top of their list, and it's Star Trek First Contact.
wow, it's only your number two, really.
Yes. I'm trying to see if that's, yeah, there it is. There's the poster for it with the Borg Queen.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, it was. Yeah, that's my number one. It's my number one, so we should get that out of the way.
yeah. I mean, it, I saw this one in the theater after Generations. Was not expecting it to be as good as it was. The Borg, obviously, being the greatest invention coming out of Star Trek as far as
They,
villains.
yeah, they're the most awesome villains.
Little overused. I watched Star Trek Voyager for the first time all the way through it, like 2 years ago, and they kind of overused the Borg a little bit more because Voyager is out in the Delta Quadrant, which is where the Borg actually live, so they run into them a whole lot more.
Right.
But I rewatched Best of Both Worlds, which is the episode that really, I mean, introduces them. I mean, they got introduced a little bit earlier with Q, but it's the episode where they finally come and they have the confrontation with Starfleet, and it's such, yeah, this it's so tense. I mean, so Borg are great. Borg Queen was a great touch.
She was a bit weak though. I thought.
Oh, really? I mean, she was weak as far as she was easy to beat.
Yeah.
But as far as like what I mean, but that's the problem I have with Khan too. Is like the charisma was all there, but he was kind of easy to beat in the end. And she was kind of the same. So I mean, what makes a great villain for me in general, but in these Trek movies, gotta have a good motivation. And obviously, their motivation was to go back in time to beat the Federation. She tries to do it via data. She gives him a little skin action, which is so great. The sexual
Mm.
tension between them, where she kind of gives him a skin blowjob.
Mhm.
And oh, there's so many great lines. She's just so great. I mean, uh, um, and then you have more time travel. You have Zachary Cochrane. I think that's how you say his name. The inventor of the warp drive, played by Cromwell, the
Yes.
great
Yes. Yes.
Cromwell, who's been in other Trek things throughout
He's
his
been in
career.
Dallas too.
I didn't know that. And he
Yeah.
was in Baby. That's how he kind of got famous again for being in Babe. Uh, you have all the characters doing something, which is also for me. It's such an important thing when you get a Trek movie. I mean, it can't just be the two main characters. A big focus on them. So you have Riker and Troy and
Yeah, that's where the
Crusher
love story
and
really takes off.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Down on Earth, trying to get Cochrane to get his first flight off, and the fact that he hates the fact that he becomes this great hero in the future.
Yeah, he's an asshole. He's a
Yeah.
complete asshole. But he's awesome as an asshole.
Oh, and of course, oh, I don't want to mispronounce her name because I suck at saying what is her name. Oh, wait, Star Trek First Contact cast. Alfre Woodard. She is fucking great, and
Oh
she
yeah, yeah,
goes toe
yeah.
to toe
Yeah,
with Picard.
she was in whatchamacallit, Luke Cage.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't watch Luke Cage, but she just goes toe to toe with
And she
Patrick
was in
Stewart.
Kirkland too.
I don't know where I know her from. I know I've seen other movies
I'm
with
sure
her.
you know her from Kirkland. It was a Spike Lee
Yeah, the
joint.
Spike Lee joint. Uh, but I know her from somewhere else. Yeah, Crooklyn had a Home Star Trek First Contact. The Brave Little Toaster. Definitely didn't watch that. But anyway, she goes toe to toe with Patrick Stewart, man, and
Yeah.
she's so fucking great in it. And, I mean, that whole scene where she's just calling him an asshole, like abandon the fucking ship. You're willing to kill everybody on this ship because Ahab wants to catch his whale. And they always bring up Moby
Hmm.
Dick in Star Trek: The Next Generation. TOS was very much into Shakespeare, and TNG very much into Herman Melville. But I love that scene. It's such it just builds, and then finally he just no, and he breaks the glass with all
Hmm.
his ships, and then she even says, "Oh, you broke one of your little
Well,
toy ships."
because a large part of the movie is Picard dealing with PTSD.
Yes,
He's got like post traumatic Borg syndrome.
yes, yeah,
He kills a guy. He actually kills a guy because he thinks he's been possessed by the Borg, and he's like, better to fucking kill him than to let him live his life as a Borg.
yeah. No, I mean that's the first order he gives. Is like, listen, once these guys. Oh, I remember her. She was in Desperate Housewives. That's what I'm remembering her from. More recently. Um, no, but the thing is, he gives that as an order. He's like, listen, if anybody gets assimilated, they're no longer who you think they are. Kill them. Trust me, you're doing them a favor. But his whole thing is
He survived.
he wants
He beat it.
no, you don't beat the Borg. Trust me, you don't beat the Borg. He was kind of going, help me, but eventually it's like a virus. Once you get assimilated, you're done. You're done. It's because it's not automatic. Like when you get Borged up, like first they they hit you with the nano probes that goes into your blood. So that's when you get all the veiny kind of action going, because that's all the nano probes running through your body to prepare you for when they start to, cut off your hands and put like a robotic hand, take your eye out, put in the robotic eye. But once you get, it's almost like The Walking Dead when you get bit by a walker. You don't turn into a zombie automatically, but you got bit, you're done. You're gonna turn eventually. So dude was definitely, but she got upset when he went into like the holodeck, the danger room, as you said, and he shot up like the old gangster style. He
Yeah,
shot him
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and it was a Borg, but she saw that he had a Starfleet uniform. So it's like, wow. I mean, that was one of yours, and you just ripped into his body, like you treated him like he was nothing. And he's like, you don't understand how this works, and blah blah. Blah. But I love that scene because it she was the only one that could really talk him down. She was the only like, yeah, I don't have chain of command. I can call you an asshole to your face, and that's what you're being. Go out there, and abandon this ship. And goosebumps. I always get goosebumps when uh Worf is the one that's also like he's saying abandon. He's
Yeah,
like,
he is really mad,
yeah, we
man.
need to abandon the ship. And Picard calls him a coward. And he's
Yeah,
like,
if you were any other man, I would kill you now.
where you stand. Yeah. But then I get goosebumps every time when afterwards he goes to Worf and he's like, uh, I said some things back then that weren't right. In fact, you're the bravest man I've ever. Man, that touches geek nerd.
Yeah,
Geek nerves for me run down my
for
body.
sure.
I'm like, because it's fucking Worf. He is the warrior, the warrior Worf. So I love that scene. But this is another one. I mean, if you're gonna go, imagine somebody that's never seen Star Trek, watch what movies? Probably The Voyage Home
Yeah,
and First Contact, and maybe with a maybe for Wrath of Khan in there.
what I really liked about it was that it kind of yeah, well, like you said, it introduced it for people who had never seen like a Star Trek movie before. It explained like the backstory, basically. Like even as somebody who'd watched the original series from when I was a child, um, where did this Federation of Planets come from? It kind of explained all that.
Yeah. No, it's a good movie all around. There's not much you can do to there's not much bad you can say about it. It's an enjoyable movie. You can tell I've had one too many beers. I can't get a whole sentence out. So that's your number one movie, right?
That is my number one, yes. First Contact.
First Contact. And my number one movie is The Undiscovered Country. It's been
Oh,
my number
wow.
one forever, and it continues to be my number one. I had it number one when I did this ranking back in 2016. And I just love every little bit of this movie, from the fact that it's a Cold War allegory,
Hmm.
the fact that you have an explanation to one of the big things in the show is how is it that the Klingons and the Federation, they're not friends, but they're closer, obviously, because in TNG you have a
Hmm.
Klingon and Starfleet. You have a whodunit mixed in there. You have a space, regular old space battle
The
movie
space
stuck in there.
battle shit is awesome.
Yeah, so there's so much meat in this movie. I mean, it's like four movies in one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's
And
like
and Spock
seamless.
can totally take center stage.
Yes,
It is the last of the original cast movies,
yes.
and of the original cast movies, this is the one where Spock is like totally in charge.
Yeah, and I like how they put Kirk and McCoy together on the prison planet instead of usually it's Kirk and
Yeah,
Spock in these
yeah.
moments, because it really gave this really great character development between the two of them that you usually don't see because it's kind of stifled by Spock.
Hmm.
It's always Kirk Spock, Kirk Spock, but then you get McCoy out there, and you had Iman in the movie as a
Right.
shapeshifter. I don't know. I mean, first time watching it, but I suck at guessing stuff in movies, so I didn't kind of see that the Vulcan girl was gonna be the traitor. But
She was pretty obvious.
even then, how they played it out, it's just well done, And like when Spock tries to get all the other information from her, and it's like a mental mind meld rape.
Yeah, yeah.
know?
He sets a trap. He's so heartless.
And that's the bitch.
He is so fucking heartless. He
Yeah.
sets a trap for her,
Yeah.
and she comes for it, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Got you, bitch."
Yeah, because and that's the thing that's so, for me, it's so deep about this movie is that it shows, like, one, they're old. They know, like, I think our time is up. And there's that conversation in Spock's room where it's like, I think we've outgrown our usefulness. And he admits, I was so blinded by trying to get this girl to be my successor you know,
Mhm.
that I just didn't stop to look at what was directly in front of me. You know, like I was played for a fool. And Kirk's like, yeah, but me too. I was played by my emotions because of my son. So then that gets into that whole point of like the
And
world is changing.
that is a huge aspect of that
Yes.
movie is the virtue signaling, because like, you want to root for Kirk, but he's a racist.
Hmm.
He's like, Klingons killed my son, so
I'll never
therefore
trust them.
I hate Klingons.
Yeah.
And there is huge virtue signaling coming from this movie, that, like, okay, you know, hating Klingons equals racism,
Yeah,
basically.
but I mean, I mean, you can take it from the racist part, but I look at it just from a Cold War aspect. You
Okay.
know, which could
Yeah.
go into racism too, because they're
Yeah.
Russians. They're different. Yeah, they're white folks, but they're a different group of people. Where we just have a distrust for each other because of things that have happened in the past, and now we're at a moment. You know, Berlin Wall's coming down. Younger generation of people that are like, "Yo, we can live together," and an older generation of people that are like, we need to live together, but can we really live together? You
Right.
know, and it's like that conflict. And I mean, you can obviously you can look at it from a race aspect too. If you go into maybe the 1960s civil rights, and yeah, now blacks need to be integrated into society. The older generation just has to deal with it, and maybe it's a good thing. They may even think it's a good thing, but can they really deal with it? Whereas a younger generation is like, yeah, I mean, I have a black student that sits next to me in school. Like, what's the big deal? Because they don't know of anything other than that. They
Right.
don't know what it means. They have no concept of, yeah, black people had to go like 4 miles that way to go to school, and I had to go 2 miles that way to go to school, even though we're next door neighbors or something. Um, so I like that, you know, with the movie where um, they deal with that, because I deal with that in a way because I'm older now.
Right.
I'm going to be 40 next year. So I see kids like I know I got my little cousin here and stuff like that. He's like 15. For him, when he sees like a trans person or a gay person, it's like, huh. And it's weird for me because at 15, you know, you couldn't be out in high school at 15 when my
Yeah.
age, or there were no trans people. So it's something that it's different for me to see how they react to it versus how I react to it, you know. And for me, even trans people is something that I have to sometimes be careful about,
Yeah.
you know, because I'm like,
Yeah. We're not all fans.
yeah, yeah, let's, well, yeah, more. Not that we're not all fans, but there's some wacky people out there. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. So
dude, I had this student, and we were talking about cheating in sports,
yes.
and the subject of trans people.
Oh, in male sport,
Yeah,
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 the other,
yeah.
yeah.
Competing as women in
Mm-hmm.
male sports
Mm-hmm.
came up, and one of my students was like, "Actually, I just don't like trans people."
No, I
Like,
have zero issues with trans people. It's more with some the politics that goes along with it, but it's still something that wasn't as common for me to see growing up. Where when I'm in an area where I see that there's more trans people, it's not like I have zero issues with it. Whatever. I
yeah,
mean, we'll have
I don't
beers
fucking
together,
care. Like, it doesn't matter.
but we still have that moment where like, wait, I never had to deal with this before. Is it a he? Is it a she? Is it a them? Is it a
Well,
whatever?
it's the pronoun
Yeah.
thing. It's the pronoun thing, because, like, to
Yes.
me, I don't give a fuck what you are. Like,
Yes.
what you identify with, I don't care. I don't care at all. But if you really make an issue of a pronoun being your identity, then I'm kind of gonna have an issue with it.
But yeah, but the thing is, going back to the movie, what I like about it is that it deals with that. It deals with these two old fucks who are really on their last run. They got kind of dragged into it. Kirk
Right.
definitely got dragged into it, where they're on the precipice of a new, what's the undiscovered country, as the title of the movie says. It's this new
Right.
place. We don't know what having peace with these people that we've been at war with for almost a century.
And the title of the undiscovered country refers to peace. That is actually what the undiscovered country means. It means peace.
Yes, and what does peace mean when you've been at war for so long? Um, and what role should the creator of that piece have going forward? It's like, okay, how about we just plant the seed and let it grow? But we're too we're too attached to the seed,
Right.
and that goes back to what we were talking at the beginning with Gene Roddenberry, great creator, but I think Star Trek really blossomed when he stepped aside and let the seed germinate and become what it needed to become. A lot of times we can plant the seed, maybe when we were younger, we were out there like, yeah, we need to recycle more, we need to do this,
Mm.
and just let that be, not try to manipulate every aspect of what that needs to be. So for me, as you can tell, I'm going on and on and on and on and on. I think
No,
there's
that's fine.
so much
I think we're
in
done. I
in
think we've
in
covered every movie.
yeah, but there's so much in this movie that I love. That's why I put it as my number one pick.
No, and
So
I even though it's not my favorite, I can actually totally identify with the reasons why you've selected that as your personal favorite.
it's a serious one. It's a serious movie. And it takes and the best part of the movie is that it wipes the taste of number five.
Yeah, yeah,
And
it
I'm
does.
like, and it's like, thank God this cast got to go out on a high note.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
except for Sulu, who wasn't on board. He had his own chef, but so guys, this is our longest broadcast, 3 hours and 30 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
Maybe Star Wars will be a little bit shorter. How many Star Wars movies are going to be? Nine plus two? Because you got Solo and Rogue One.
Yes, there
So
will be
10.
11.
10, man. No, 11. Yeah, I suck at math. Anyway, um, so that'll be fun. So we'll try
Yeah,
to, we'll try
but I
to.
don't need to rewatch the Star Wars movies. I have them memorized.
Oh, God. I do, especially the prequels. I saw them maybe 2 years ago. No, maybe 5 years ago. I sat through the prequels. So and I remember almost nothing from them. They kind of all like run into each other. So I'll definitely have to watch it. And I kind of know the order of the original ones in my head because I've seen them enough times. In the new ones, I would just have to refresh just to see. Because
Yeah,
you know what?
we should totally go on Christmas
No,
Day, man.
I'm up for it. Oh, we got somebody watching, I think, or it might just be me watching myself. I do that sometimes. Let me see. If I click off here, let's see if it. Oh, there's actually somebody out there. There's somebody out there. He came in at the very end, whoever you are. Uh, but make sure to watch or listen and subscribe from the beginning. And or maybe it was just me. Who knows? And we yeah, we're doing Star Wars next. And yeah, because I'm curious of how I feel about The Last Jedi, man. Because I'll tell you what, I loved it first time I watched it, and then I took the little one to go see it, and I was a little bored second time with it. And so I want to see what a third time
You know,
watch.
Adam Driver is going to win the Oscar this year. I haven't even seen the movie that he's nominated for yet.
What, the Marriage Story?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I gotta watch that. I'll
yeah,
probably
yeah,
check that
yeah.
out during this week. So that's it, y'all. Thank you for listening. If you have any suggestions for any future rankings, while you're in the bathroom, I was saying we should do. Actually, I think I have it in this notebook. I was doing a Rocky one, which it was kind of fun. No,
Directors. We should do directors.
yeah, the directors one. We should go straight into talking films and do that.
Like not necessarily like every movie they ever made, but just like our top 10.
So you saying rank directors or pick a director and rank their movies?
Pick a director and rank their movies.
Oh, we could do that. Okay, that makes more sense. Oh yeah, I'd be willing to do that definitely. But then you'd have to watch a lot of movies.
No, no, we don't because we just picked the top 10.
I know, but we'd have to go by other people's. Oh, it's saying what our type. All right, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, what are top 10
I would have
things?
to watch a lot of movies though, because I don't watch as many movies as you guys. I'm much more of a music guy.
Right.
So I like with the Scorsese one. Like I told you, I don't think I've seen 10 Scorsese movies.
I
Like
can't believe you haven't seen 10 Scorsese movies, man. That guy's like been around
yeah, because
forever.
I don't watch movies that much. I've gotten more into watching movies recently, but yeah, it was like whatever was on TV, I'd watch, or maybe I'd pick something out from Blockbuster or something.
All
But
right.
it wasn't. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of a director that I actually maybe Spielberg, but not
Well,
even.
well, Spielberg would be good because
Yeah,
he's like universally loved.
yeah.
So I mean, and I haven't seen E.T. in years,
Oh, yeah, I don't like that
so
one.
that would be
Yeah.
I don't like that one either. But I would have to watch it. You can't
Yeah, no,
evaluate Spielberg without watching E.T.
what would be cool too is if we have a director that got too many movies, just pick a decade. Like what was Spielberg's top movies in the 80s, top movies in the 90s, top movies in the 2000s? Because come on, I mean, because I wouldn't want to do a ranking of director and just going via like what is the consensus for his top 10 movies and then kind of watch only those and then because
Right.
there's sometimes movies that aren't considered top 10 for everybody else, but like you did with like what's that, After Hours, you put a
Martin
Scorsese.
Scorsese, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah, After Hours is a fucking awesome movie,
yeah,
man.
but it's not like first thing people think of when they think
No, no,
Scorsese.
but because and you live in Sao Paulo too.
Yes.
You know what it's like. You're
Coming home late.
yeah, coming
Speaking of
home late.
which,
Exactly.
I might have to call you an Uber for you to go home so you don't die on the way home.
No, I'll be fine.
All right, because I gotta get to sleep. Well, guys,
All right.
we're rambling. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And das ist alles, as they say in German. That's all, folks.
Finally.
And broadcast.